A service of KIBMradio.com, the Internet's home for an all old-time radio.
Jerry, at Fair Oaks.
Well, what do you think this hole is, Lee?
Gee, I don't know. I've never seen it before. It's kind of hard to see, even though the moon is shining pretty brightly.
Yeah. Hey, Lee, look.
What?
Look at these boards here. They're all covered with moss and grass.
Yeah, that's right. And they've been broken through, where whoever fell down must have stepped on them.
Uh-huh. And because of the moss and grass, I guess he didn't see that it wasn't just plain ground like all around here. Golly, well, what are we going to do?
Well, he's still alive. I wonder who it is.
Do you suppose it might be old General, what do you call him?
Oh, you mean General Ben?
Yeah, the old soldier who lives in the cabin. Do you suppose it might be him?
Gee, that'd be awful if it is. Because, well, he's so old, he couldn't stand anything like that.
Hey, listen. No, that isn't an old man.
Somebody's coming. Oh, it's Tom.
Where'd you guys go? I was waiting for you down near the trail like we planned.
Well, Lee and I saw somebody running ahead of us, Tom, and we decided to capture him.
Gee, did you?
No, well, wait a second. No, because when we started after him, all of a sudden he disappeared.
Disappeared? Well, how could he?
Well, he fell down this hole. He's down there now.
Hole? Oh, gee, I didn't notice that. Well, do you think it's one of the kids?
Well, that's what we've got to find out, Tom. Sure must be hurt pretty bad because he keeps on groaning like that all the time.
See, I've got an idea.
Okay, what is it?
Well, Captain Gardner's back at the gym, waiting for prisoners. Tom, you run back there and tell him about this. And in the meantime, Jerry and I will try to figure some way to get down there.
Okay, you bet. I'll run as fast as I can.
It'd be swell if we could get down there, but how are we going to do it? Maybe I could... Hey, wait, let me lie down on my stomach and see. Yeah, Lee.
What?
There's some rocks sticking out from the sides of this hole. It looks like an old well. It isn't very wide, only about 4 feet across. I think maybe I could climb down there. And as long as I keep my hands against the sides of the well...
Oh, now, wait a minute, Jerry.
Well, what's the matter? I can do that. I've climbed worse places than that.
Yes, probably you have, but you could see where you were climbing. Here, you don't know what's down in that old well. The rocks that jut out may not last all the way to the bottom.
Well, yeah, maybe you're right. I'll tell you.
I hope this idea is better than the last one.
Yeah, it is. You wait here, just in case Tom gets back with Captain Gardner, and I'll go down to General Ben's cabin and borrow a rope. Then I can shinny down on that.
Say, that is a good idea. Okay, pal, you run as fast as you can.
You bet I will. So long.
So long. I'll be waiting for you.
Oh, that nettle, I didn't notice it.
Hey, who's that?
Is that you, Tubby?
Yeah, Jerry?
Yeah.
Well, I got captured all
Never
right.
mind that, Tubby. Come on with me. I've got to go over to General Ben's cabin and get a rope.
A rope? What? Oh, I get it. To tie somebody up, huh?
Oh, no,
Gee,
that isn't it at all. Somebody has fallen down a well, and he's hurt. Pretty bad, it sounds like.
Gee, who do you think it is? Hey, why do you have to run so fast?
Okay. Softy, stay here if you want to. The cabin's right down there. You wait here and get your wind back. We'll probably need you later.
Okay, I'll wait. Wait.
He must be here. There's a light.
Well, what do you want at this time of night? You ain't lost, are you?
No, sir. Well, General Ben...
Don't call me General Ben. I ain't a general. Never have been. Wouldn't want to be. Cost too much money. What do you want?
Well, sir,
Stop stuttering.
Yes, sir. I want a rope.
A rope? What for?
Well, to get somebody out of a well.
Out of a well? What well? Ain't any wells around these parts?
Oh, yes, there is.
What? I say there ain't.
Oh, well, it looks like a well, and somebody just fell down in it.
Where is it?
Just back of your cabin, Mr.
The name is Dent. Benjamin Franklin Dent.
Yes, Mr. Dent.
Corporal Dent.
Yes, sir.
Lance Corporal.
Yes, sir. Well, do you think maybe you could, let's borrow a rope?
Oh, of course I can. Just one moment now. Hold your horses and quit champing at the bit. I'll fetch it.
Whew. Gee.
Here it is. Good long hemp rope. Used it to practice my knots on. Now, wait till I lock this door.
Are you coming with me, Corporal Dan?
Well, you bet I am. Somebody's down the well. No slip of a stripling like you can get him out, rope or no rope.
But there are three of us.
Don't make no difference. Three or a squad or a platoon. Can't trust the rescue of human life to rookies. Wait till I fetch this pole. You tote the line there.
Yes, sir.
All right now. All's well. Forward.
Well, what's the pole for, Corporal Dan?
Well, I told you a young sprout like you would never get any ideas. I'll show you when we get there.
Yes, sir.
Hey. What's your name, lad?
Dugan. Jerry Dugan.
Jerry Dugan. Say, what are you lads are doing out at this time of night? You should be in bed.
Well, you see, sir, the school organized a treasure hunt, and 3 other cadets and I were on one squad looking for the next clue. And we saw somebody running ahead of us, and then we decided to capture him.
Capture him with fur?
Well, because we thought he was probably a member of the other team, the blue team.
Huh. Sounds like a lot of fool-monkey business to me. Well, go on.
Well, then all of a sudden he disappeared. And when we got up to the place where we saw him last, we found the old well. And whoever it was that was running ahead of us had fallen in. And he's still down there, groaning something awful.
Whew. All right, now quit talking and keep walking.
Yes, sir.
Halt. Say, who's that up ahead? If that's one of the other team, we'd better reconnoiter around him. You don't want to get yourself captured, do you?
No, sir, but that's just Tubby Young, one of the members of my squad. He's pretty tired, and I left him there to rest.
Oh, well, come on, then.
Gee, Jerry, I almost...
Corporal Dent, this is Cadet Tubby Young.
Howdy. Well, come on, we ain't got time to waste talking.
Corporal then, huh? Oh, I thought you were a general.
Tubby, pipe down.
Oh, excuse me.
Nothing to excuse. No, sir. Highest rank I ever hit was Lance Corporal. After the siege of El Connie, they offered to make me a sergeant, but I turned it down. They couldn't bamboozle me into buying no more chevrons.
Well, there's the well right up ahead of us there. Lee's still waiting. We're coming, Lee.
Hurry, Jerry. Stop groaning.
Oh, gee, let's hurry, huh? I brought Corporal Dent with me, Lee. Corporal Dent, this is my roommate, Lee Phillips.
How do you do?
I do.
We'd better hurry as fast as we can. Whoever's down in that well stopped groaning just after you left, Jerry.
All right. Now, I'll assume command here, being of the highest rank. Now, you two lads put this pole across the well. Take those rocks there and put them all around the ends of the pole.
Yes, sir.
Come on,
Yes. Now, give me that rope.
Yes, sir. Here you are.
Make a bowline at one end.
Bowling?
Yeah, hangman's knotted slip. Stronger than a fisherman's knot, too. All right, now stand here, lad. Wait a minute, let me measure you.
Yes, sir. Oh, I see what you're doing now.
What do you do?
You're going to let me down there at the end of this rope, and then when I get to the bottom, I'll put the loop around the other fella, and then you'll pull him up. That's it, huh?
All save 1 point. We'll all have to pull him up. Say, can you shitty?
You bet. Yes, sir.
Oh, never mind the formalities. Shouldn't say sir to a non-commissioned officer nohow.
Yes, sir. Okay.
Well, we're all set here with a pole now.
All right. Hold your horses. Don't rush me. Got to make this not foolproof.
I wasn't rushing you, sir. I just meant that...
I know what you meant, but you can't rush Benjamin Franklin Dent. No, sirree, Bob. I remember at El Caney, July 1st, 98. General Chaffee says to me, he says, Dent, says, go up there and reconnoiter around that there hillock, says. But he says, take your time. Don't rush in where angels fear to tread, or you might come up missing, he says. Well, sir, I took his advice and crawled up toward that hillock very slow-like, and as a consequence, I missed the hail of lead by half a minute. Yes, sir. Take your time. All right now, lad. Now, you watch how I put this around you. And you put it around the fella down there just the same way.
Yes, sir.
Slide it down over his head like that.
Oh, yeah, I see now.
Yes.
And then you put it down past the tips of my hands and then up under my arms.
That's right. With the knot at the exact point between his shoulder blades, like that, you see?
Yeah, that's okay.
Yeah.
Gee, that's keen, isn't it, Lee?
Oh, you bet it is. Well, you ready, Jerry?
Just a minute. Rein in there, lad. Here, give me your cap, Jerry.
Yes, sir. It's right there, Tubby, on that board.
Oh, yeah, here.
Now...
What are you doing that for, Corporal Dent? Putting leaves in my cap.
Now, you wear this cap down. When you get to the bottom of the well, you put it on the head of the fella down there.
But I don't see
What for? Well, I'll tell you what for. When we're pulling him up, his head will fall forward. And this cap filled with leaves will act as a cushion.
Say, that's all right.
Of course it's all right, or I wouldn't have sunk it up. All right, what are you standing there for? Come on, let's proceed with the details.
Yes, sir.
Now, where's your flashlight?
Oh, why, we didn't bring any with us.
No flashlights? Oh, for
Well,
the
you
love
see,
of-
they wouldn't let us bring them because the moon was shining pretty bright, and if we used flashlights, it would show the other team where we were.
Well, that beats me. No flashlights, running around in the dark like a flock of rabbits. Well, here then. Take these matches down there with you.
Okay, thanks. Well, ready.
Oh, wait now. Wait till I cinch this rope around this tree. All right, you lads. Come on here and give me a hand.
Yes, sir. We're coming.
Yes, sir.
All right. Go ahead, Jerry. Go ahead now. Slip down over that pole.
All right. Here I go.
Take it slow, lads. You all right, Jerry?
Okay so far.
You getting along all right?
Yep. Hey, wait.
Hold it, lads. What's up?
I'll have to wriggle around this big rock that's jutting out here. Wait a second. There. Okay, lower me down some more.
All right, lads. A little more.
Hey, I can see the bottom now.
Can you see the man?
No, not quite.
Well, do you hear anything? That's more important.
What do you mean, hear anything?
Well, I mean, can you hear him breathing?
Oh, wait a minute. Yeah, I can. He's breathing awful hard, almost like snoring.
Oh, that's bad. Very bad.
Yeah.
There, Jerry must
Hey, I'm
be...
down.
Yeah, I can feel it in the slack of the rope.
Golly, this fella's all doubled up. That's why he's breathing hard, I guess.
That's right. Hey, can you release him?
I'm trying to. There. That'll help a little. Guess I better take a look and see if he's got any bad injuries, huh?
Yeah, that's right. Light a match.
Yeah, okay.
Gee, Jerry looks funny down there by the light of that match.
Hey!
What's the matter, Jerry?
Well, do you know who this is?
You know him, Jerry?
Yeah, who is it?
Golly, it's Red Morrison.
now, Autolite presents transcribed Vidoc's Final Case, starring Mr. Charles Boyer, and hoping once again to keep you in suspense.
To Émile Daubigny, Commissioner of Police. Monsieur, I, Vidoc, in writing this report, beg your indulgence. This case, monsieur, is my last. When this series of robberies began, I was, as you know, no longer with the Sûreté. 10 years ago I had retired, and in the last unhappy months, had been touring the provinces with a variety show.
Messieurs, mesdames, it gives me infinite pleasure to introduce to you that infallible, magnificent virtuoso of crime who for 18 years, to the greater glory of the Sûreté...
Standing in the wings, the sad realization which for months had oppressed my heart was confirmed. That already, after 10 short years, I was forgotten in the capitals of the world.
Then applause drew me from my unhappy revel. And I give you Maître Vidocq.
Merci, mes amis. I shall describe to you some of the highlights of my career, show you some small aspects of my technique, and answer questions on the art of detection. Monsieur Lebac, if you please, my souvenir.
At once, master.
The shoes of Voyant. These shoes were worn by Voyant, the brigand of Rouen, who frequented county fairs. There he spied out rich men, waylaying them and murdering them for their money. It was this pair of shoes which furnished the essential clue. Well, finally the bag of tricks was emptied, and that day I took no pleasure in the wild applause of the ignorant and credulous. When I entered my dressing room...
Maître, this young man has come to pay his compliment.
And Lebec was telling me your motto.
Justitia virtutum regina. Justice is the queen of virtue.
My motto? No, it's Lebec who fancies himself a classical scholar.
Oh, I misunderstood. My name is William. I came back to tell you that you are a very great artist.
Indeed? How would you know?
Well, in a small way, I'm in the same kind of work.
A musical comedian, perhaps?
Oh, no.
He is from Scotland Yard, Vidocq.
In a small way, it's correct.
Yes, I'm over here on a case. You say that you were formerly with the Sûreté?
I was formerly commissioner. For 18 years, commissioner.
Oh. Well, I'm on my way to see your present commissioner. I believe his name is Daubigny.
A blockhead, a bungling fool. Give him my regards.
Yes, I will do that.
And wish him luck in solving these recent robberies.
Oh, you know about them?
No, all France knows about them and is laughing at the police.
One moment. You are here because of the robberies, monsieur?
Well, yes. Yes, the Sûreté seems to think an Englishman is involved. Why? Why do you ask?
To give you my sympathies. The case will never be solved.
No? Why?
You see, Daubigny has been fortunate. Since he became commissioner, there have been no other crimes of this type. It involves a master criminal. It takes a master to catch a master.
You seem so certain, monsieur.
Well, naturally. I am Vidocq. Later, Commissioner, Williams described to me how he arrived at your office to be greeted by a scene of noise, confusion, and desperation. Detectives carried back and forth with urgent messages, while you, Commissioner, vented your bad temper on an unfortunate gendarme. Fool!
But their uniforms were authentic, Commissioner, and they said they needed the cabinets for evidence.
So you helped carry the cabinets out of the truck?
But it was an official truck. They had an order signed by you.
Signed by me! Here, you may leave. Get back to the prefecture.
Yes, Commissioner.
Well, what do you want?
I'm Williams from Scotland Yard.
Oh, yes. Forgive me. This is a most trying day.
Yes.
Commissioner!
Yes, Your Honor Bourdonnais.
What progress have you made in finding the criminal who stole my medal?
We must be patient.
And all my uniform.
General, I beg you.
Unless you find a way of curbing these crimes, we'll find a new commissioner.
I fail to see the humor.
He said it involved a master criminal.
Who said this?
Vidocq.
Vidocq?
Yes, I met him by chance. He's a fascinating man. He's a real artist.
Greatly overrated, monsieur, I can assure you.
He once held this office.
His methods were most irregular.
Still, in the case of these robberies, he might be able to find...
Never. For years, monsieur, his reputation overshadowed every man who held this office. Even I had to suffer this humiliating comparison.
Oh, how is that?
Vidocq would have done it so. Vidocq would have caught them sooner. Vidocq would have known immediately.
Yes, that must have been very irritating.
I forbade his name to be mentioned. I took certain steps which made it impossible for him to remain in Paris. I managed judicially to keep his name out of the papers. Now, finally, he is forgotten.
Still, in the case of these robberies, he might be able to find...
Never.
Of course, I have no way of knowing the twists and turnings in your brain, Daubigny, before you made the inevitable decision. I can only say that your messenger did not take me wholly by surprise. Naturally, as my duty to France, I instantly obeyed your summons.
Come in, Vidocq. How are you, mon ami?
Excellent Well, bonjour, Inspector Williams.
Hello, Vidocq.
I want to discuss these recent robberies with you, Vidocq. Inspector Williams and I have been discussing them. Shall I summarize?
Please do.
We are satisfied that they've all been carried out by the same gang. The crimes are all of a similar nature.
Yes, the robbery of the National Museum, of the Petit Palais Royal, of the home of General Bourdonnais. Yes, the criminals have consistent taste.
We've watched all the fences closely. Nothing has turned up. Not a vase, not a brooch.
I think they may have been smuggled out of France.
No. All the stolen goods are still here. The thieves are waiting. They have time.
Then all we can do is wait.
You asked the help of Vidocq. I never wait.
Well, what will you do?
Gentlemen thieves. Well, they are a very special lot. A tightly knit, highly professional group, where each man knows everything about the others. Yet, sometimes one may be found who is jealous of another.
And can be induced to talk?
But the commissioner's had every known jewel thief in Paris picked up and questioned.
No thief will talk to a gendarme. It's a simple fact Daubigny never comprehended.
Well, then to whom?
To another thief. I once knew a gentleman thief, who I doubt if he is involved in these robberies, but he is likely to know the ones who are. The Marquis de Villiers.
A marquis?
No, he assumed the name for professional reasons. He gained entree into the greatest houses with such ease that he was also called Monsieur Latchkey.
Oh, it sounds charming.
And you believe this marquis would know?
If I can find him.
He isn't in Paris?
He is in hiding. Has been for years. I'll get in touch with some of my old friends.
You'll need some officers.
What a bungler. No. None of your police. I'll go alone. Unless Inspector Williams would enjoy meeting the Marquis. Inspector Williams and I met that night in the Luxembourg Gardens. It was striking 10, and news vendors were crying their headlines, exhorting the public to patience, telling them that their infallible police were at work. Both Williams and I were dressed as sailors. We crossed the gardens and began our search, first calling on a certain woman of the Faubourg Saint-Germain.
Yes? What do you want?
Adele?
You?
Yes. I am looking for the Marquis.
The Marquis? Oh, Chérie, I am sorry. I have not seen him for weeks.
Then to a certain maître d' in a fashionable restaurant, and to a young dancer at the stage door of a well-known theater, without success. Finally, we stopped on the boulevard to buy white violets from an old beggar.
The Marquis, monsieur? What do you mean? Café de la Tour.
Café de la Tour. Merci, old man. Café de la Tour. Here we are. Down these steps.
What do you want?
Madame, are you expecting the Marquis?
Who are you?
Two lonely sailors who have business with the Marquis. And white violets for Madame.
Oh, come in. He is not here yet.
Here. We'll take this corner so we can see.
What a place.
Something to drink, monsieur?
2 Calvados, madame.
Oui, monsieur.
Yes, cafes like this are the unwashed linen Paris hides from her guests. But I feel most at home with the criminals who frequent these places.
Because you worked among them, huh?
No, because I was one of them. Look, here, on my chest.
G-A-L?
Burn into my flesh. The mark of the chain gang.
You?
I spent 8 years on the chain gang.
But how then?
It was supposed to be 15, but I escaped. In the habit of a nun.
Oh, but did they know when you worked in the Sûreté?
Well, of course. That's why I worked there. You know what it is to be a fugitive? To live expecting a return to that hell? Well, I couldn't stand it. So I made a supreme gamble.
You went to the Sûreté?
No, mon ami. What was more logical? I knew everything about crime, every trick of the trade.
And then?
well, then, monsieur, inevitably, I became commissioner. Here he is. The Marquis.
Madame, have you a corner table?
Oh, certainly. And I have cooled some of your wine. I will bring it immediately.
Are you going to speak to him now?
No. Well, we'll wait. Be ready to leave.
Leave? Just when he's alive?
No. Do as I say. When you see the old woman coming back. Now.
Pardon, monsieur. May I pass?
Oh, just a moment. What is this wine you have?
Oh, please. It has been ordered specially.
I'd like to sample it.
Oh, please. No. It is for the Marquis. Monsieur le Marquis, your bottle.
What, pig? You take my wine? I think not.
He's got a knife. Beat up. I handle pig fellows with knives.
When you steal wine, monsieur, memento mori. Remember, you must die.
We all must die.
Stand back against the wall. Attention, be quick. Now, who is responsible for this fight?
It was the sailor. He took the wine.
No. Why blame me? I was insulted by the Marquis.
I insulted you? Liar.
Enough.
You are both under arrest. Here, put out your hands. There. Locked together. A cozy, loving pair.
Autolite is bringing you Mr. Charles Boyer in Vidocq's Final Case. Tonight's presentation in radio's outstanding theater of thrills, Suspense.
Hey, Harlow, how would you describe an Autolite stay-full battery?
Why, that's easy, Hap. It's the world-famous battery that needs water only 3 times a year in normal car use and gives longer life, as proved by tests conducted according to accepted life cycle standards. Why, you just can't buy a better battery than an Autolite Stay Full.
Tops in quality and performance, eh, Harlow?
You bet, Hap, and it's because of advanced engineering design and the fiberglass retaining mats around every positive plate that reduce shedding and flaking.
It's the battery of a lifetime.
You bet it is, Hap. So, friends, visit your nearest Autolite battery dealer. He'll gladly check your battery. To quickly find his location, look for the Autolite battery sign or phone Western Union by number.
And ask for me. I'm operator 25. I'll tell you the name of your nearest Autolite battery dealer where you can get an Autolite stay full.
The battery that needs water only 3 times a year in normal car use. And remember, from bumper to tail light, you're always right with Autolite.
And now, Autolite brings back to our Hollywood soundstage Mr. Charles Boyer in Elliot Lewis's production of Vidocq's Final Case, a tale well calculated to keep you in suspense.
And so, according to my plan, the Marquis and I, Vidocq, were thrown in the same cell. For it has been my experience, Commissioner Daubigny, that to gain a man's confidence, one must share the hardest blows of his personal fate. When you learn that, you will have taken the first small step toward mastering the art of detection. But enough. I had boasted to Inspector Williams, and I believe to you, that the Marquis would talk within 24 hours. But the hours dragged on, and he sulked in his corner, and I in mine. Finally, I gave a prearranged signal to a passing guard.
You, on your feet.
I only stand in the presence of gentlemen.
Stand up. You are to come with me.
Oh, don't tell me this lying pig is being released while I rob.
Released? He's being taken upstairs for questioning. We have a tip on this fine bird.
A tip?
That you know quite a lot, monsieur, about these robberies. Now, march.
Say, how did he look when you said you had a tip about me?
Interested, Monsieur Vidocq. And I think there was sympathy.
Oh. When I reached your office, Daubigny, you were eating your dinner. Yes, Chateaubriand with sauce Henri IV. And I thought, Commissioner, how you had never lived as I had so often, on nothing but bread and water. But I was in your office because of duty, so I wasted no time. Well, the Marquis will not talk.
Ah, well, I am afraid this case is too much for you, Vidocq. Your trap is sprung, the bird is caught, but he will not sing.
Because you have a stool pigeon in the next cell.
Huh? How did you know?
What do you take me for? His ears wave through the bars. Remove him.
Any more advice?
Yes. Have your gendarmes give me a sound beating before they throw me back into the cell.
My pleasure.
After I have eaten.
Oh.
A Chateaubriand also, and pomme soufflé, and then a sweet. The beating was genuine. I insisted on that. An artist must make sacrifices, Daubigny. Must be willing to risk his flesh, his very life, on every turn of the wheel. Which is why you will never be a Vidocq. It was 2 hours later when they threw me back into the cell.
You will talk. You will talk yet.
But I know nothing.
Here, let me see that cut.
I told them I knew nothing. Whoever committed those robberies would not let himself fall into the hands of the police.
That is right, my friend.
But I must say I was flattered to think they believe that...
You are right to be flattered.
What? You mean you know them?
The men who robbed the Petit Palais? The man who planned it? Ah, brilliant. Incomparable. Yes, I know them well.
And so the bird sang, and I was ushered back to your office just before midnight. But it was fortunate you were alone, Daubigny, for much of what I had to say was only for your ears.
Well, Vidocq?
Well, the case is solved. Let me sit down, please.
Well, did the Marquis confess?
No, not so fast, mon ami. I know the names of everyone involved. I know where the stolen goods are stored.
Excellent. Well?
And I know I'm very weary of crime, Commissioner, of greed and envy and fear, of men who seek success through fraud because they have no talent.
Well, all of us abhor crime.
And I am weary of you, Dubigny, who stole to achieve your success.
I stole?
My name, the only thing of value I owned. When I left the Sûreté, I left a monument that towered in the minds of my countrymen. You stole it. You tore it down, stone by stone.
Why, how could I have? You have delusions.
You whispered in one ear and then another. You drove me out of Paris, hoping that I would be utterly forgotten. Am I right?
Vidocq, I beg you. You know the name.
Yes. But there is a price.
How much?
I have composed a statement for you to sign. I, Émile Dubigny, declare that whatever poor talents I possess, I owe entirely to the master of all detectives, Vidocq.
But what will you do with it?
I will use it as I see fit. When I see fit.
Very well. There. Now, the name.
Here is the address where the stolen goods are stored.
But who?
Now, if you make a raid, now, I said, immediately, you may find the whole gang there.
But their names...
Hurry, Commissioner. Do you need the names if you can catch them with the goods? I let you lead the raid in person, knowing that newspapers would send reporters there. I was willing to let you have the glory, for once. I remained in your office, drinking your excellent cognac, when young Inspector Williams joined me. He had been informed that the case was solved. A most charming cognac.
Yes. Now tell me, the Marquis was not involved?
No. He merely disclosed the names.
How many were in the gang?
7. Yes, 7. All experienced thieves.
Oh, was there an Englishman?
Why, yes. I believe he said there was one who had escaped from Dartmoor. The commissioner's reasoning was correct on that.
And the mastermind?
The Marquis did not say.
But surely, Vidocq, you know.
Not of a certainty.
Well, then I have surpassed my teacher, because I know.
Oh? And who is he?
You.
Monsieur Williams, what possible proof?
Proof? My proof is the Marquis. In the Café de la Tour, when you and he staged that very convincing fight.
Was it staged, monsieur?
Mm-hmm. The Marquis shouted, Memento Mori.
What of that?
The Latin motto. The Marquis is Lebac, your assistant in the variety show, the man who fancies himself to be a classical scholar. Justitia virtutum regina. Justice is the queen of virtues.
But what could be my motive? I mean, to rob and gain nothing for myself?
Didn't you gain great satisfaction when all of France laughed at Daubigny?
Bravo. You are worthy of your teacher.
Before I go, what will Daubigny discover in this raid?
Why, the stolen goods, the jewels, the general's medals, the mirrors and paintings from the Petit Palais, everything.
And the gang?
Oh, they have escaped. But they are of no consequence. There were only 2 men. And now, one is a shabby Marquis, and the other, well, a man who is rather pleased with himself. And so, I, Vidocq, beg your indulgence, Commissioner Dubigny, for the nature of this report. As I said, it is my final case, and perhaps not my best. If you wish, consign these pages to the fire. There are witnesses revealed here, both yours and mine, which I fancy both of us are willing to forget.
This is Network Replay on CKNW 98.
Mutual presents Arch Oboler's plays, The Mutual Broadcasting System has the pleasure of presenting the 19th broadcast of a special 26-week series of plays by radio playwright Arch Oboler. In this series, we hope to bring you dramas full of the excitement and the meaning of plays, told in relation to the expanding world in which we live. Tonight's play will be introduced by Arch Oboler.
These are days for great rejoicing, and days for thoughtful realization that now mankind has a God-given chance, perhaps the very last, to make this truly a world where all men live as brothers. It's fitting, then, this night, to bring you a very much requested return broadcast of my dramatization of Irving Stone's great novel, Lust for Life. The players are all members of the Actors Laboratory, a cooperative joining together here in Hollywood of what I believe is truly the finest acting talent in America today. The Actors Laboratory, then, in Lust for Life.
Who is with him?
No one. He asked even the doctor to leave.
Is there any hope?
None.
I don't understand. 6 months ago, he was as well as you or I.
6 months ago, his brother Vincent died.
Vincent, where did I fail you, my brother? Where did I fail you?
He shot himself. Your brother shot himself.
I must have failed you.
The mill at Riswick. The mill at Riswick.
Did I fail you then?
Do you really think I should go to London?
I don't have to think about it, I know. Breda, all Holland is wrong for you, Vincent. Too quiet, too peaceful. You need England, London, people, things happening. What have you here? You? I'm not good for you, Vincent.
Theo.
When we were children, all right, 2 of us against the world. But now you've got to be on your own. Live alone, make a living, meet people, know women. Yes, fall in love.
Love. I said that to you, didn't I, my brother? Go to London, fall in love.
I love the wind at night, don't you?
Really, Mr. Van Gogh, you're walking much too fast.
Oh, I'm sorry. It was wonderful of you to go walking with me.
I'm cold. Thank heaven we're almost home. I'd better go in.
No, I want to talk to you. I've been so lonely here these weeks. It was the way I wrote my brother Theo. If not for you, I don't know what... Will you be my wife?
What did you say?
I want to marry you. I want you with me, Ursula, always.
Oh, that's quite impossible.
But why?
Well, I'm engaged to be married.
Engaged?
Yes.
But all these weeks, why didn't you tell me?
I didn't think it important.
But you knew I was falling in love with you.
That's no concern of mine.
I can't bear to lose you. You will marry
Let
me.
go of me.
Will.
Do I have to marry every man who falls in love with me?
You've got to marry.
Let go of me.
Ursula.
Marry you. You've got your nerve, you fool. You country boor.
You wrote me about her, Vincent. Long letters. How she'd hurt you, how you couldn't live without her. I smiled. It was good for you, a little heartbreak. So you came home, my brother, home for peace. And I walked with you on the quiet streets of our town.
Theo, you amaze me. You, of all people, actually wanting to walk.
Vincent, what are you going to do now? Do? I mean, work.
I'm not sure.
Well, you spoke of the ministry.
I don't know. I don't know if I'm fit for it.
Vincent, listen. In each man is something that holds him together as a man. If he realizes that and lives for what's in him, even if the world ignores his work, he's been 1,000 times more successful than if he'd put down his desire and become the richest merchant in Amsterdam.
But how can I be sure what is in me?
You can only have the courage and strength to do what you think is right.
But I don't... How can I know what I really want?
I'm not a philosopher, Vincent. All I know is that every person has an integrity, a quality of character. If you have faith in that integrity in you, no matter what you choose to do, it'll turn out well.
But how do you know?
It's late. We better be turning back.
Answer me. How do you know that what I do will be well?
Because Vincent, listen to me.
I was cut out to be a businessman. Yes, to dabble at the edges of art, but always as a business. But you, as surely as I know your name, I've always known that someday you... Do what you want. Become a minister or work in a shop or become a peasant. It doesn't matter because someday...
All right, Theo. All right.
An evangelist of God, Vincent. An evangelist in the misery of a mining village in the Belgian Borinage.
Theo, if there is a hell on earth, this is it.
Yes, I remember your letters to me. I remember...
There are 7 mines here, the oldest in Belgium. Men, women, and children work in the mines. The air is full of coal dust and poison gas. Children of 8 or 9, by the time they're 20, they're coughing up their lungs. Theo, I give them only words. When they're hungry, I give them only words. When they cough up their lives, only words. But I live with them, Theo. I'm one with their suffering, and with them I'll stay. I have only one question. I ask it again. When will the world stop thinking of profits and remember that these men, all men, are our brothers?
And you were my brother, and you too were living in that misery and degradation. I came to you straight from all my success in Paris, in my good black coat and my high stiff collar and my white tie with its bright pin. I came to you, my brother.
Theo?
Vincent, what in God's name is wrong? What have you done to yourself?
I was sick. I'm all right now.
But this hole, why have you done this to yourself?
The mine. Explosion. Hundreds killed. I went down the hell.
Vincent.
The little children. Burned. Screaming. Theo, the children.
I didn't... Oh, Vincent, for the love of God, forgive me. I didn't know. When you were well, we found some green fields far from the horror of those mines. We lay in the young wheat, warmed in the sun, talked.
I like the sun.
Vincent, I'm going to give you a day or two more to get your strength back, and then I'm taking you home with me.
Home? What good would that be? Family wouldn't understand me. I want so many things, and yet I don't know what I want. Inside of me so much, and outwardly nothing. It's like that old miner I saw crossing this very field weeks ago. His black cap over his eyes, shoulders hunched over his hands in his pockets. A caricature of a man. Yet as he passed me, he lifted his face and then his eyes. Look, I drew what I saw, Theo, the sketch. It's here someplace. Let me show it to you.
These drawings, yours?
Yes, I've been putting down the people here as I've seen them. The one of the old man, I'm sure it's here some. Theo, what is it?
These drawings? Don't you understand? These drawings.
What do you want? Theo?
Yes, Vincent, yes! This is what you can do. Start now. Live where you want. Paris, Brussels, Amsterdam. Just take your choice, and I'll send you the money for your living every month. I don't care if it takes years. I'll never give up hope if you don't. You will be an artist. So many days since I said that, Vincent. So many things in them. A little laughter.
Theo, you should have heard Mother today. I drew some figures without heads, and she told me that I shouldn't do it again. If God put heads on people's bodies, she said, you should.
Laughter and work.
I draw until my fingers cramp, and then I read until my eyes ache, because how can I draw life if I don't know what the people talk and feel about this world we live in?
And disappointment always disappointment.
Today I brought some of my drawings to the great critic, Mynheer Tersteeg. He said they were no good. Just like that, Theo, he said they were no good. Oh, Theo, can it be true? I won't believe it. Not as long as you believe.
How could I help you? What could I tell you? Again I waited. And then she was there. Her husband had died, so she came visiting.
Dear Theo, I'm very happy. Cousin Kay, whom I'd never seen, has been visiting with us for 2 weeks, and I've never known such beauty. It's not only in her face, it's her whole being and manner. Her quiet walk, her perfect poise, her every little gesture. Theo, to you alone in all the world, I can say this. Today, when Kay sat by me in the woods as I worked, all at once I realized that in all my life, no woman has ever said one caressing word to me. No woman has looked on me with love. No woman has ever kissed me. I have never loved. But now I can say it. I love. And I want.
I read your letter. I wanted to come to you, Vincent, and warn you. But again I waited too long.
Dear Theo, today I worked as usual in the field sketching the workers. Kay was with me. I finished my drawing and knelt to shore. And suddenly I felt her shoulder burning my side, and the sketches fell to the ground, and I was holding her close. And the words I'd never spoken were pouring from my lips. And as I said them, suddenly I saw that her face was twisted with horror. And then she struck me and she screamed. And she tore herself free from me and she ran across the field. And I was left alone. Always alone.
Why didn't I help you then, my brother? But all I gave you were empty written words of consolation. Work, work, find your happiness in work. How could I, who lived well, understand your hunger? How could I understand how they tortured you?
As a good friend of the family, I say you must hurry, Vincent. You must hurry and earn your living. You don't know what a strain it is on your brother Theo to have to send you 100 francs a month. You must support yourself as quickly as possible.
So you two call yourself an artist, Ango. Tell me, what do you go around in those dirty racks for? Why don't you buy yourself something?
Hurry, Vincent, hurry. It isn't right to live on another man's money. You must earn your own living, my boy.
How they must have tortured you. And then, in those dark days, Christine.
Do you mind my sitting here?
No, of course not. I'm grateful for your company.
My name is Christine. What's yours?
Vincent.
What do you do?
I'm a painter.
Do you sell any paintings?
No.
Why not?
I'm trying to find a way to paint. A way that's right for me.
You look hungry.
You look very tired.
Yeah.
Why do you come here?
Because I'm half dead. And if I drink enough, then I'm all dead and I don't feel anything anymore. See what I mean?
Yes, Christine. I see.
Our friends began whispering about you, Vincent. And what they said reached all the way to me in Paris. So at last I went to you.
Yes, I am, Theo. In the eyes of the world, I'm an eccentric nobody. So I paint the nobodies of the world, those that have nothing. Let me show them to you, Theo. You'll see.
Wait, later.
Huh?
Now, Vincent, I must confess my primary purpose in coming here was to ask you not to establish any
permanent relationship with that woman.
Oh.
Tell me, what is she like?
She gives me kindliness and tenderness.
Vincent, I never draw class distinctions, but marriage? Surely you will wait a bit before you go into such a marriage, will you, Vincent? I ask it.
All right, Theo. If you ask it.
Was I wrong then, my brother? At last, I was able to have you with me.
Oh, Paris. After all these years, oh, Theo, I'm grateful to you.
Oh, don't use that word.
You can't change how I feel.
Look, that writing over the church door.
Liberté, égalité, fraternité. So they really mean it, Theo?
Yes, it's begun here, Vincent. It'll spread over the world. In a few years, there'll be no more of what you hate, the misery and inequality.
A few more years.
Yes. And then what will you paint, A world full of happy faces, well-filled stomachs? Will you want to paint that, my brother? Here, we go in here.
But an art gallery? You told me to stay out of all...
Say nothing, just go in. Look.
Yes, Theo.
Look.
Oh, Theo. Theo.
Vincent, will I ever forget your face as it was at that moment? That thin, tired face that had known only the misery of work never done. You looked at these glowing paintings on the wall, paintings mad with sun and light and air of the new France, where men dared speak as men. And suddenly, all the years of unhappiness were gone from you. And your face as you looked at me was as young as that day by the mill stream at Riswick.
Oh, Theo.
It's tremendous, isn't it?
But who?
They're called the Impressionists. Degas, Manet, Gauguin, Toulouse-Lautrec, Monet. The breath of the new France.
But why didn't you tell me? Why didn't I know? Why did you let me waste all these years?
You wasted nothing. You've worked out your craft for yourself. Everything you do is right. What you painted, why you painted. The only thing wrong is the use of light and color. That's all you must learn from these Impressionists. You belong to them. You belong to this time. Liberty, equality, fraternity. Oh, Vincent, isn't it wonderful to be living in a time when such important things are happening?
Yes, Theo. Yes.
The days after that, did I fail you then? Did I drive you too hard, my brother?
Theo, it's no use. My mind knows what I want to put on canvas, and yet my hands... If I only knew what was wrong.
It's Paris.
Paris?
In Paris, you found a new way of work. Paris has been your school, and as long as you remain here, you'll be nothing but a schoolboy.
You want me to go away?
Yes, of course. Somewhere in this world, there's a place you can make all your own, where you'll reach maturity. There's where you have to go, Vincent, at once.
You want me to go away?
I sent you away, but I wanted you to stay.
Dear Theo, the sun here in Arles is like a great ball of fire. It hangs in the hard blue sky and burns through my skull like liquid fire. But you were right. Here I can work.
Your letter. Your first letter from Arles.
Dear Theo, this is a strange place of mad people, driven that way, they tell me, by the heat and torturing wind of the Mistral. Yet here I work. The hard, relentless blue of the sky, the green of the fields that is beyond green, and the blood red of the soil. Colors flow on my canvas, and there is no world but you and my work, and the heat of the sun burning through me.
Should I have guessed then, Vincent?
should I have come running to you and said, come home now?
Dear Theo, this valley is like a great shimmering furnace. I sit in the middle of it, and everything in the valley flows before me, and as it passes me, I put it on canvas after canvas. Today, as I painted, the sun seemed to come closer, and suddenly, out of the sun came a woman, and she kissed me. She kissed me, Theo. My eyes, my ears, and her mouth was warm on my mouth. And suddenly she was gone, and I got up. I ran. I ran through the fields, Theo, until I could run no more, and I fell asleep. And when I awoke, the sun was gone.
I should have gone to you.
Dear Theo, a strange thing happened to me. I was in the field. I was just going to paint the most wonderful canvas I'd ever done when suddenly out of the sky came blackbirds. There's thousands of blackbirds, cawing closer and closer until they covered me, flew into my hair, into my mouth, my ears, my eyes. I was covered with blackbirds. And Theo, I swear it, they flew through my head.
Then I went to you, Vincent.
Please let me through. Let me through. I'm looking for it. I'm lost fast. Please, gendarme.
What is it? What's going on here? Why can't I get by?
It's only a crazy man up there. Can you imagine? He cut off his right ear and handed it to a woman.
His name?
Van Gogh.
Then I was with you, Vincent.
So you're by my side again, Theo.
Vincent, listen to me. The doctor says you must go away.
Away?
It's really a hospital where they can watch you and help you.
No.
It's for your own good. It's quiet. You'll have the best of care.
Will you be there? Oh, Theo. If I go to the insane asylum, will you be there with me?
So instead, I took you home with me, Vincent. Was that where I failed you?
She's a wonderful wife for you, Theo. I'm very happy for you.
Someday you, too, will find a wife like my Johann.
No, Theo, it's too late.
What are you talking about? Why, these weeks you're well again.
Theo, for the last 2 days I haven't let you come into the room you gave me. Will you come in there now?
Of course.
Before you open the door, Theo. Do you remember my first day in Paris? When you took me to that art gallery and awoke me from my sleep?
You asleep.
Open the door now, Theo.
All right, but I can't imagine what... Vincent.
It's my work. All my work. What do you think of it, my brother?
What did I think of it, Vincent? How could I tell you then? How could I say it now? A man's life on a wall. A life of passion. A life of pity and understanding for all people. I could only take your hand, Vincent, and hold it in mine. I could not speak.
I am so grateful to you for having let me into your lives for a little while. Yours and Johann's. I must work again. I must find a way to repay you.
Vincent, your last letter. How many times have I read it? How many times have I heard the words of it in my head?
I'm working in the fields again, and the sun is burning down on me. I'm painting a picture. The field, the yellow cornfield opposite the cemetery, and if I paint it well, perhaps I'll be able to sell it and buy something for Johann. And maybe for the first time in my life, for you. Did I tell you, Theo? The sun is very hot again. Yes, very hot. Theo, did I ever tell you how the children used to make fun of me? Yes, and all. They'd stand under my window and sing songs about how crazy I was. Oh, I think I hear it. Oh, it's foolish, isn't it? Those children of all are far away, aren't they? I'm in a field, an empty field. I'm safe, quite safe. Theo, I hear something else from up in the sky. Theo, I'm afraid to look. It's growing louder. Louder. The sun. They're darkening the sun. Theo! Theo, the blackbirds! Theo, help me! The blackbirds!
They brought me to you, Vincent. It found you there in the fields, the revolver in your hand, your blood redder than the soil you had painted so many times.
Theo?
Yes.
I put out my hand, and you're always there.
Oh, Vincent, how unhappy you must have been to do this. Why didn't I know?
You remember the mill at Griswick? You?
Vincent, why didn't I know?
You knew. My work. I've finished it. I want to die now, Theo.
You closed your eyes, Vincent, and you were dead. And I helped carry you through the yellow cornfield, through the gate of the cemetery, and they put you into the ground, and they covered you with earth. Oh, Vincent, they buried me too. What other reason was there for my life if not for... Vincent, it's dark, and I'm lonely for you. Why have you left me? Where did I fail you, my brother?
You have just heard the Actors' Laboratory of Hollywood in Arch Oboler's dramatization of the Irving Stone novel, Lust for Life. The original musical score was written and conducted by David Raxon. The members of the Actors' Laboratory who participated in the broadcast were Morris Kornowski, Helen Beverly, Roman Bonin, J. Edward Bomberg, Hugo Haas, Ruth Nelson, Lloyd Bridges, Phil Brown, and William Watts. Here is a note of interest to the many listeners who've asked for copies of Mr. Oboler's plays. A new book by Arch Oboler has just been published. Its title, Oboler Omnibus. It is published by Duell, Sloan, and Pierce. The book contains 13 plays and a discussion of radio and radio personalities. Next week's broadcast will bring you a triple feature. 3 short plays, all of them comedies, all of them concerned with children. This will be the 20th in a special series of plays written, produced, and directed for the Mutual Broadcasting System by Arch Oboler. This is the Mutual Broadcasting System.
And now stay tuned for the mystery program that is unique among all mystery programs. Because even when you know who is guilty, you always receive a startling surprise at the final curtain. In the Signal Oil program, The Whistler. Signal, the famous Go Farther gasoline, invites you to sit back and enjoy another strange story by The Whistler.
I am the Whistler, and I know many things, for I walk by night. I know many strange tales hidden in the hearts of men and women who have stepped into the shadows. Yes, I know the nameless terrors of which they dare not speak.
And now for the Signal Oil Company, The Whistler's strange story. A Rose for Pamela.
The concert was progressing successfully, brilliantly, as Denise Barrett listened closely. The young artist had perfect command of the keyboard at her fingertips, and the quiet, inspired audience watching. This was because, like her famous father, the late Thomas Barrett, she loved music. It was a part of her. And she felt no more nervousness than he might have had at the height of his brilliant career as one of the world's most celebrated pianists. Pamela Barrett might have felt differently, however, if she knew what was in the heart and mind of Denise Barrett, her young and attractive stepmother. Pamela's touch might not have been so fine, so sure, if she had the knowledge of Denise's cold, calculated plan for murder. It was a plan that began some time back, wasn't it, Denise? At an even more innocent affair. An impromptu concert at a pleasant social gathering. Friends of yours and of Pamela. As usual, you watched admiringly as Pamela played for her friend. Softly, beautifully.
Oh, Pamela, darling, it was beautiful, wonderful.
Thank you, Denise. All of you, thanks so much.
She's ready now.
Oh, you must arrange a debut for her, Denise.
I should say so.
Oh, you hear them, darling. It's what I've been telling you repeatedly. You mustn't let anything interfere with your music.
Nothing will, Denise. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have to...
You've done a marvelous job as a guardian, Denise. Her father would have been proud. Yes, it's a shame Thomas Barrett couldn't be here.
Oh, yes, he would have loved to hear his daughter play tonight.
Yes. Yes, it's our only regret.
Oh, now, dear, I'm sorry I mentioned that.
Oh, it's all right. Just the excitement. The thrill of hearing her play so much like Thomas himself.
Yes, Denise, so much like Thomas Barrett himself, your late husband. The thought is still on your mind as you excuse yourself. Leave your guest discussing the way you've managed Pamela, brought her along, guided her career and affairs so efficiently. And on the terrace, you're congratulated again by a guest who has remained in the background. Marty Drake, attorney for the estate of your late husband, Thomas Barrett.
She was very good, Denise. Very good.
The girl does have talent, doesn't she?
Uh-huh. You think she meant that about not letting anything interfere with her career?
I hope so.
So do I. You ought to make sure, you know. A young girl in love that way.
I've managed her pretty well until now, Marty. And she has faith in you, both personally and as an attorney. She told me the other afternoon she was glad you were handling the estate.
Oh, sure. I was just thinking her father's brilliant career ended by an accident. Would be dreadful if anything had to end the daughter's, too.
Please, Marty.
Sorry. Like I said, just thinking.
Marty, it would be terrible if...
You couldn't handle it? Couldn't talk her out of marrying Richard Matthews?
Oh, but I can. I must.
You can say that again, baby. Her marriage would put us both in a position of having to account for the $100,000 we've managed to remove from the estate.
100,000? Is it that much, Marty?
We've lived well, Denise. Very well. Since Thomas fell over that cliff a year ago.
But 100,000, Marty,
That's the difference between a misdemeanor and a felony. You'd better go to work on Pamela.
I will. Tomorrow.
Thought you might like a cocktail, Mrs. Barrett. Sir?
Oh, yes. Yes, thank you, Alma.
Thank you. I could use one very nicely.
Oh, Alma, would you tell Pamela there's another number I'd like her to play? Liszt's Lebenstraum.
Oh, I'm sorry, ma'am. She told me to tell you she's gone out. There was a phone call.
Not Richard Matthews.
Oh, yes, ma'am. Richard Matthews.
Well, and you tell me not to worry.
Marty, we're going to have trouble.
So is Pamela.
How do you mean?
We won't have much choice, Denise. If your lovely stepdaughter persists in marrying, there might be only one way to stop it. Yes, one way. And this time you'll do the stopping. If you don't, baby, you won't be around to spend any more of Pamela's money. You'll be on the inside looking out.
Oh, no, Marty. I'll stop her.
And if you don't?
If I don't, it's like you say, another accident. Another tragic loss in the Barrett family. And the music world.
Throughout the 7 Pacific Coast states, from Canada to Mexico, motorists call Signal the Go Farther gasoline. Now, naturally, we're mighty proud of Signal's good mileage, which has built that reputation. But equally important to you as a motorist is the way Signal gives you such good mileage. You see, today's Signal helps your engine run so efficiently you save gasoline 3 ways. 1, you save gasoline with Signal's quick starting. 2, you save gasoline with Signal's smooth, obedient pickup, free from balking and hesitation. 3, you save gasoline with Signal's lively power that gets you into high gear fast, helps you stay there with a minimum of shifting on hills or in traffic. Well, considering the number of times a day you start your car, accelerate, and shift gears, even a little gasoline saved each time soon adds up to a big saving. So there, in a nutshell, friends, is why motorists call Signal the Go Farther gasoline. Why not treat your car to Signal and go farther?
Yes, Denise. As Marty indicated, Pamela must be dealt with firmly, decisively. Her romantic inclinations toward Richard Matthews must come to an abrupt halt. Yes, because with marriage, Pamela would be in a position to explore the nefarious financial dealings in which you and Marty have engaged with the funds from the estate. Also, Pamela might have reason to suspect the grim fact that her father, Thomas Barrett, might have died by other than accidental means. You lose little time in facing the situation squarely, Denise. As the following afternoon, you hurry down the long corridor toward the music room, determined to talk to her. However, as you pass the study, the maid steps into view.
Oh, ma'am.
Yes, Alma.
About Mr. Barrett's curio collection. Miss Pamela said she didn't want anything touched. I told her that...
Oh, now, really? I don't see why she insists on keeping those awful things around. Spears, poison darts, those vials of South African poisons, snake venom, all those things.
Her father's, ma'am.
I can't imagine what Mr. Barrett had in mind bringing those horrible things back with him after that South African tour. I just can't. Oh, poisons. They make me shiver. Oh, well. Never mind, Alma. I'll talk to Pamela again later.
Very good, ma'am.
You play Chopin nearly as well as your father did, Pamela. You're still angry with me, aren't you? Well, I don't blame you, really. I should have told you the reasons I thought it best that you postpone your marriage to Richard for a year or two.
The main reason is that you enjoy telling me I can't do things, isn't it, Denise?
You think I'm very unfair, don't you, dear?
Aren't you?
I don't think so. Oh, Pamela, I know how hard it's been for you since your father died. It's been hard on me, too. I loved him very much. And I've just been trying to keep a promise I made to him about you. I guess I've gone at it very badly.
Promise? What was the promise?
I promised him I'd see to it that you followed in his footsteps. Became a great concert pianist.
You did?
Yes, dear, I did.
Dad asked you to?
Yes. He wanted you to make your debut at Civic Hall on your 19th birthday.
Well, that's scarcely 2 weeks away.
Yes, it is. But I made all the arrangements some time ago. And that's why I was so shocked when you said you wanted to give up your music and marry Richard. And why I was so emphatic in saying I wouldn't let you.
My career meant a lot to Dad, didn't it?
Pamela, you're awfully young to get married. Why not wait for a couple of years, and in the meantime go ahead with everything just as your father planned?
I guess it would have made him happy.
No, of course it would.
All right, Denise. I'll try to go on with my career.
You'll always be glad, darling. You may feel bad now about postponing your marriage to Richard, but, well, after you get started on your career...
Denise, you must have misunderstood. I said I'd continue with my music, but I didn't say I changed my mind about marrying Richard.
But you can't marry him. You wouldn't have time for both.
Look, Denise, legally I'm old enough to be married with or without your consent, even if you are still guardian of my money. If I decide to marry Richard, there's nothing you can do to stop it. Remember that. Nothing.
You've failed, haven't you, Denise? That look on Pamela's face. You've seen it before on her father's face. The man you married with so much more than love in mind. Yes, Denise, to gain control again, there's another step necessary, a more drastic one, but something more in your line. You've always managed with men easier than with women. And later that week, out at the swimming pool, you call on all the strength of your considerable feminine powers to turn the tide for you. Win Richard away from Pamela.
Morning, Richard.
Good morning, Mrs. Barrett. How's the water?
Oh, warm and wonderful. Here, give me a hand, will you?
Oh, sure. There we are.
Oh, thanks. Now to get the cap off. Oh, it was such a beautiful morning. I just couldn't resist the pool. Hand me the towel, will you?
Oh, yeah, here we are.
Oh, thank you.
Pamela around?
Oh, she had some shopping to do. That's why I asked you over. I want to talk to you alone. Sit down, Richard.
All right.
Pamela tells me you're quite a musician.
No, she's prejudiced.
You like Pamela very much, don't you?
I love her.
Enough to put her welfare above your happiness?
Of course.
Well, then, don't let her think about getting married until she's reached the place in the music world her father planned for her.
Why couldn't she do both?
Well, she just couldn't, that's all.
Well, hundreds of women have combined marriage with a career. Rather successfully, too.
Oh, perhaps, but not Pamela. She's different. Her life shouldn't be complicated with emotional disturbances. Her thoughts should be only of her music. And you are rather distracting, Rich.
Oh, now, really, Mrs. Barrett, you make it sound...
Denise, please.
All right. Denise?
Did it ever occur to you that the things Pamela sees in you are obvious to other women, too?
I never thought much about it, Mrs. Denise?
You know, Pamela is such a child. Naive and all. But you and I, Richard, we're the same kind. I knew it from the first time I saw you. Remember, Richard, Pamela's first concert? The afternoon you brought her the first rose?
I remember.
You seemed a little surprised when we were introduced.
Yes. I suppose I was. I didn't expect Pamela's stepmother to be so...
So what, Richard?
Well, young and so attractive.
How nice of you to say that, darling. You really think me attractive?
Yes. Very.
My, we are getting along well, aren't we, Richard? I think we should get to know more of one another. Don't you?
Uh-huh.
Well, there's no time like the present, is there?
Whatever you say. Denise.
He's falling into the trap, isn't he, Denise? Soon you'll be able to twist him around your little finger. Yes, you're confident that when you're through with Richard, he'll have forgotten that Pamela ever existed. You sit there at the edge of the pool with Richard for over an hour. Then when he's gone, you hurry to the telephone and call Marty.
So you charmed the boy, huh? What did he tell you?
Well, it isn't what I told him. It's what I left unsaid, Marty. That's what counts. I'm certain he thinks I'm quite mad about him, and he's very interested.
Did he say keep that little rendezvous?
Oh, of course not, and I didn't ask him to. I merely mentioned that I'd be dining alone tomorrow night at that quaint little cafe overlooking the sea. And how I loved it there, the soft music, the candlelight.
Think he'll show up?
How could he turn it down? Don't worry, Marty. After tomorrow night, all our worries will be over.
Promptly at 7 the following night, you enter Chavini's, that quaint little cafe on the beach. The head waiter steers you to a secluded table near the large window overlooking the sea. And there in the candlelight, you sip a martini, wait for Richard to show up. Suddenly you're aware of someone standing at your elbow.
Good evening, Mrs. Barrett.
Yes?
Allow me. I am ready now. May I sit down?
Oh, just a moment. I
am from the Hollywood Escort Bureau.
Escort Bureau?
Yes, Mr. Richard Matthews hired me. He said Mrs. Barrett hated to dine alone.
Get out of my way, you...
Now, look, lady, how about my fee?
Collect your fee from Richard Matthews, the man who hired you. He'll pay. Yes, he'll pay all right.
Denise, are you sure Richard sent that two-bit Romeo, the guy from the Escort Bureau?
Oh, of course, Marty. And of all the dirty, shabby tricks.
Worse than the one you tried to pull on Pamela, baby. You must be losing your technique.
Well, you won't think it's so funny when I tell you that last night Pamela informed me she and Richard are planning to get married right after the concert.
What?
I said they were planning, Marty. But the wedding will never take place.
Well, how are you going to stop it? Poison their cornflakes?
Oh, don't be a fool. Poison. Yes, poison. That's it, Marty.
What are you going to do?
The Barrett Curio collection. The poisons my late husband picked up in South Africa. Some of them are fatal, almost in a matter of minutes, Marty.
I can't imagine why a great musician like Thomas Barrett went in for a gruesome hobby like collecting poison. As long as you didn't dispose of them after his death.
Oh, Pamela wouldn't let me. Pamela wouldn't let me get rid of a thing. How very thoughtful of her. How very thoughtful. Just a scratch from any one of those poisons, and it's all over for little Pamela.
All right. But how are you going to do it?
I don't know, Marty. But I'll think of something. I'll think of something.
Yes. And it's on your mind all that night, isn't it, Denise? You've got to find a way to kill Pamela with one of the poisons from her father's collection. And somehow Richard must be blamed. Just how you're going to do that isn't clear, not yet. Not until the following afternoon, when suddenly, quite by accident, you stumble on the answer. You're sitting in the library when your maid walks into the room.
Oh, Alma.
Oh, yes, ma'am?
There's some things I want sent to the cleaners. If you'll come upstairs with me.
Right away, ma'am.
Where are you going with those flowers?
Well, Miss Pamela asked me to take them out of her room and put them in here. Gardner picked them this morning. Aren't the roses beautiful?
Yes, they are. They're quite beautiful. Put them in that vase over there. I just remembered I have something important to do.
The waves are really coming in tonight, aren't they?
Mm-hmm. You know, Marty, I've been thinking.
Oh?
It's really very simple. We poisoned Pamela with a rose from her darling Richard.
I don't follow you, Denise.
Well, Richard always sends her a rose when she appears on the stage. It's become a superstition with him. She wouldn't appear without it.
All right, so?
I'll arrange to be at the door when the florist delivers it. Now, they always wrap the stem of the rose with a very thin wire. I'll put several sharp wires on it, Marty, and one of them right up through the rose. And all of them especially treated. One of those wires will be sure to scratch Pamela.
But suppose...
I'll pin the rose on her and arrange it so she'll be certain to scratch herself.
It'll never work. The police will be sure to find out.
Well, it'll make it all the better if they do. Richard sent her the rose, not me. He always did.
Yes, but the motive. Why would he want her out of the way?
Because he was madly in love with me. And he wanted the Barrett fortune, too. You see, he knew that with Pamela out of the way, all the money would go to me.
You know, that might work.
And with you, the attorney for the Barrett estate, to back up my story, it can't fail to work.
Sure. It'll stand up, baby.
And in another month, Marty, the Barrett fortune will be all mine.
Ours, baby.
All right, ours. However, I think I should warn you, Marty.
Oh?
Just in case you get ideas about pushing me off a cliff and keeping all the money for yourself.
Oh, now, look, we're getting married.
Yes, I know. But I've taken the necessary precautions just the same, darling. I've sent a letter to a friend of mine, a lawyer. That letter will be opened in the event of my death.
What are you driving at?
It's all there, in the letter, Marty. All the evidence the district attorney will need. How you embezzled money from the Barrett estate, and the complete story of Thomas's death. You see, I'd hate to have an accident happen to me, Marty. Fall off a cliff like he did.
You don't think I'd double-cross you, Denise? I'm crazy about you.
Oh, of course you are. But I just want to make certain you don't have a change of heart. You might get to think that $500,000 looks better to you than I do. You see what I mean, darling?
How much does it cost per month? That's really the only accurate way to judge cost when buying a new battery for your car. Here's what I mean. If a battery is guaranteed 30 months, that means 30 months is about the minimum life the manufacturer has built into that battery. So you divide the total cost by 30 to find the cost per month. Well, judged on that basis, one of today's lowest cost batteries is also one of today's most powerful, most trouble-free batteries, the new Signal Deluxe battery. In fact, you enjoy up to 35% more power from a Signal Deluxe battery. That means quicker starting, extra power for the many electrical gadgets on today's cars. But because it's built to last up to 2.5 times as long as ordinary batteries, a full 30 months on a service basis, a Signal Deluxe battery costs amazingly little per month. Even less when you consider the generous trade-in allowance Signal dealers are now giving for old batteries. And easy credit terms are available. So next time, get more for your battery dollars. More economy, more trouble-free service. Next time, get a Signal Deluxe battery from a Signal service station.
It was easy to complete your plans for the murder of your stepdaughter, Pamela Barrett, wasn't it, Denise? The single rose you knew Richard would send her arrived while Pamela was upstairs dressing for the concert. It took you only a few moments to turn it into a deadly weapon. Then you went to Pamela's room and carefully pinned it on her dress in such a way that she'd be certain to scratch herself and die by the poison you took from her late father's curio collection. You lie down for a while, certain that you'll soon be in full control of the Barrett fortune. You're calm and confident when Marty calls for you. Now, as you sit beside him in the concert hall, watching Pamela's performance, your eyes are fastened on the rose she's wearing. But as the recital progresses, you become more and more tense. The fear that your plan has gone wrong gradually comes over you. Something should have happened to Pamela long before this, shouldn't it, Jimmy? And as her brilliant performance draws to a climax, you exchange worried glances with Mark.
Oh, baby, what's gone wrong?
No, I don't know.
I was afraid of your idea from the start.
Wait a minute. I've got to. Marty, we'll go backstage to her dressing room. This way, Marty.
Excuse me.
Pardon me, please. Will you excuse me?
Wonderful, wasn't it? Yes, great performance. His father would have been proud of her. Excuse me.
Come in, ma'am. Wasn't Miss Pamela wonderful tonight?
Yes. Where is she?
Oh, she didn't come back to her dressing room. Ran right off the stage. Left with Mr. Richard.
What?
Yes, ma'am. She gave me this note for you.
What is it, Denise?
My dear Denise, sorry to rush off like this, but Richard and I are driving to Reno to be married.
What?
I know you don't approve, but I hope you can find it in your heart to forgive us, love Pamela.
Married? Miss Pamela getting married. Oh, how wonderful, ma'am. No wonder the poor child was so excited before she left for the concert.
Maria, I don't feel well.
I feel a little pale myself.
Yes, ma'am. Miss Pamela was so nervous she could hardly pin Mr. Richard's rose on her dress. I had to do it for her.
What?
Miss Pamela was so excited.
You pinned Mr. Richard's rose on her?
Yes.
But you couldn't have. I did it for her. I took it at the door when it came and pinned it on her dress in her room.
That's right, but I'm talking about the artificial rose Mr. Richard brought later when he came to pick up Miss Pamela.
Artificial rose?
Well, you know the allergy she's developed recently.
Her allergy for flowers. Yes, I forgot. Can you sneeze?
So that's why Mr. Richard brought her the artificial rose, so she wouldn't sneeze during the concert.
What did you do with the real rose?
Well, Miss Pamela thought it was too pretty to throw away, so she put it in your corsage just before she left with Mr. Richard.
My corsage? This one?
Yes, ma'am, the one you're wearing.
Denise, your arm's bleeding.
Oh, my, you must have touched yourself.
Oh, yes, I was...
When did you do that?
I don't know. It must have been... Oh, Marty.
Marty, what's the matter, ma'am? Is something wrong?
Marty, the poison. Call the doctor. You know how quick...
Well, help her, Miss Pamela.
Denise!
Let that whistle be your signal for the Signal Oil program, The Whistler, each Sunday night at this same time. Meantime, Signal Oil Company and the friendly independent dealers who help you go farther with Signal gasoline hope you'll remember. Regardless of what gasoline you use, you'll enjoy more miles of happy driving if you drive at sensible speeds, obey traffic regulations, and avoid taking chances. You may even save a life, possibly your own. Featured in tonight's story were Bill Foreman as the Whistler, Joe Gilbert, Barbara Eiler, John Stevenson, Sarah Selby, Bob Bruce, and Rye Billsbury, with piano passages played by Gene Lapique. The Whistler was produced by George W. Allen and directed by Robert Hafter, with story by Nancy Cleveland, music by Wilbur Hatch, and was transmitted overseas by the Armed Forces Radio Service. The Whistler was entirely fictional, and all characters portrayed on The Whistler are also fictional. Any similarity of names or resemblance to persons living or dead is purely coincidental. Remember to tune in at the same time next Sunday when the Signal Oil Company will bring you another strange story by The Whistler. Marvin Miller speaking for the Signal Oil Company. Stay tuned now for our Miss Brooks starring Eve Arden, which follows immediately over most of these stations. This is the CBS Radio Network.
This is Orson Welles, speaking from London. The Black Museum. A museum of death. Yes, here in the grim stone structure on the Thames which houses Scotland Yard is a warehouse of homicide, where everyday objects, a fountain pen, a cufflink, a high-heeled shoe, all are touched by murder. here's a scarf, torn and ragged. The faded tartan, a cheap reproduction of the honorable colors of the Stuarts, red with green blue crossings and a double over check of white and yellow. This scarf belonged to Walter Hoffman Piewski, known to the police and his friends in the underworld as the Pike.
There's no doubt about this scarf being his property, Superintendent. He was wearing it when he was sent to Dartmoor 10 years ago.
The description tallies, does it?
Exactly. It's all written down in the prison property book, even to the patch on it.
So the Pike's our man. Right. We'll get him.
And get him they did. And all because of a scarf, appropriately known in Cockney circles as a choker. The Pike applied his choker to a human throat. The throat of the driver of a post office van. The Pike pulled the choker too hard. It was instrumental in convicting him of murder. And that's why it's earned its place here in the Black Museum.
From the annals of the Criminal Investigation Department of the London Police, we bring you the dramatic stories of the crimes recorded by the objects in Scotland Yard's Gallery of Death, the Black Museum. In just a moment, you will hear The Black Museum, starring Orson Welles. Now, The Black Museum, starring Orson Welles.
Well, here we are in the Black Museum. Beyond these grey walls, the mighty roar of London never stops. But in here, it's quiet. Come with me under the frieze of death masks, the masks of criminals of bygone days, suspended grimly under the ceiling. Come. To our right and left, rows of murder exhibits, each one carefully labeled. That cut-glass scent spray is attractive even now. Might even take its place on Madame's dressing table, till we stop and read the label written under it. Yes, it's been used to spray anesthetic over the faces of helpless women as a prelude to murder. No sickly aroma now, as we squeeze the bulb. Except for its grim associations, the fragile exhibit is insignificant, easily broken. But it was strong enough to hang the man who used it. There's a brass candlestick. Over there, a taper to go with it. Here we are. Here's what we're looking for. The faded tartan scarf. As I take it out of the showcase, I ask you to come with me back to the time when this scarf was new, 15 years ago. Walter Piewski bought it from a stallholder in one of London's famous street markets, Petticoat Lane.
Yes, sir. We'll take one of the scarves, mister.
Right, sir. Finest worsted we're wearing. What's your clan? Campbell's, Cameron's, MacDonald or MacLeod? All genuine tartan today down from the islands.
All right. I've bought it already. Don't need to give me that stuff. I'll take this one.
It's the Stuart, and better than that you cannot do. Not half a nicker, not 5 bob, half a crown, and cheap at the price. Thank you very much. Come and get your Scotch chapters from Honest John Mackay. If your next wall...
While Honest John continued his honest trade, the pike went about his own particular business. It was less exhausting than John's, and it was work from a public call box. In professional circles, they called it the hospital trick.
Is that Mrs. Peterson speaking?
Yes, who's that?
The London Hospital here, Mrs. Peterson.
Hospital? Why, what happened?
Oh, there's no need for immediate alarm, but I'm sorry to say that your husband has met with a serious accident.
Oh, Bill? Is he hurt? Oh, no, what happened?
He was knocked down by a bus in the Whitechapel Road about half an hour ago.
A mean, crude trick. But more often than not, it worked. While the stricken woman hurried to the hospital to find the husband, who of course was not hurt at all, the pike would visit her house. With the coast clear, he would help himself to whatever he could lay his hands on and get out before the bewildered woman returned. And you noticed that the pike could almost camouflage that accent he had. This gift gave him a confidence which was almost his undoing. One time when he and some friends were removing the entire contents of a house while the owners were away on holiday.
What about the piano, Pike? Do we take that?
Of course we take everything. Who'd think of moving house and leaving the piano behind, eh?
You'll get us blooming well, aren't you, Will? Okay, boys, piano next. Oh, crikey, the phone. Here, what do we do about that? Let it ring, I suppose.
No. Maybe someone's seen the van outside and checking up. I'd better answer it.
Yeah, go easy,
Don't worry, Ed. I know my job, don't I?
Oh, yeah.
Hello?
Is that Mr. Wilson?
No, I'm awfully sorry. He won't be back until about 7 o'clock. I'm his brother-in-law. Can I help you?
If your sister's there...
Oh, Julie's just gone out for half an hour. Can I take a message?
Yes, I think you can. I'm her brother. Who the blazes are you?
Quick, boys. Let's get out of here.
Righto.
So the piano was left behind after all. But Pike got away with most of the household belongings and observed not only were his operations becoming bolder, but he had planned his action carefully. He even knew that Mrs. Wilson's first name was Julie. But he didn't know she had a brother. That must have shaken him, because from then on he changed his tactics. The Pike entered the motor racket, a racket which was to take him in turn from Dartmoor prison to the scaffold. But in his early days as a motor thief, there was still a trace of strange humor about his work. The padlocked car was a case in point.
Who's that?
Okay, Eddie, it's only me. You wouldn't go reaching for a gun when Parky walks in on you.
Oh, I'm sorry, Pike. Gets me nerves.
Well, relax. Now, listen to me. I've got a job for you.
No, I'm laying off for a bit.
Okay, well, who pays the rent?
Oh, I'm only going in for the small stuff.
Well, this is a small job I'm offering you.
What is it, busting into the Bank of England, eh?
No. It's a simple matter of knocking off a nice new motor.
Well, what's the dope?
And it's this way. The car belongs to a fellow named Lambert who lives at 14 Graysdyke Crescent. See? He can't get it into the garage beside the house on account of it being too big.
Why didn't the monk measure it before he bought it?
Well, that's not our concern. He locks the car up at night, and I've obtained a duplicate set of keys.
Oh, nice work. Yeah, what do you want me in on the job for? You can do it yourself.
Oh, there is a little complication.
Oh, I thought there would be.
This fellow Lambert is like a mother with a child over this car. He fixes it to a lamppost every night with 2 big padlocks and a double chain. Wonder he doesn't put a nappy on it, too.
Well, what do we do? Take the lamppost as well as the car?
Well, before I tell you, are you in with me?
All right, Pike. I'm in.
Then listen to what I tell you.
In the early hours of the following morning, the Pike and his assistant went along to Graysdyke Crescent, and there, sure enough, chained to the lamppost outside number 14, was a fine new motor car, its cellulose and chromium work glinting invitingly under the lamplight.
What did I tell you? We can clean up $450 on this, and all we've got to do is to remove the back wheel, which is chained to the lamppost. We put on the spare and we're away.
Okay, Pike. Let's get cracking.
The offending wheel was removed from the axle and left, still chained, to the lamppost. And by the light of the helpful rays from above, the spare wheel was bolted on, the tools were replaced in the boot, and the 2 men climbed into the car.
I hope that ignition key of yours works, Pike.
Of course it works. I tried it out last night.
Ah, good for you.
And here we go. I told you it was going to be easy, didn't I, Ed?
It's money for old rope. You're a good one, you are, Pikey. Just let me know when you need any more help. I'm your man.
Walter Pievsky pulled his tartan scarf snugly around his throat and agreed that he would certainly keep his assistant in mind. The car itself was taken to a garage, where its numbers and appearance were carefully changed and, in due course, found its way by devious routes back to the open market. The Pike, of course, had to split the profits which hurt him, so on his next job, he decided to work alone. And it was the next job which put him on the long, long walk which was to finish on the scaffold.
Now, what's the number of that garage? Ah, here it is, I've got it. If this works, Park, my lad, you're in the money. But it all depends on how good I can sound on the phone. I'll copy my father's voice, rest his soul. Here we go.
Greens Motors, good evening.
Hello? Brins?
Yes, sir. Can I help you?
My name is Maurice Bluet of 17 Granford Court.
Oh, yes, sir. I know. The big block of flats in Colleton Drive.
That's right. I am staying here with a friend, Major General Lewis.
Oh, yes, sir.
He tells me that you have a new Rolls Coupe in your showroom.
Yes, sir. Indeed we have.
Yes, well, I'm anxious to take such a car back to the continent with me, but time is pressing.
Are you at 17 Granford Court now, sir?
Yes, if someone could bring round the car, I should like to see it.
Right, I'll be with you in a quarter of an hour, sir.
Are you sure that is not too much trouble?
Oh, no trouble at all, sir. Thank you very much for ringing.
Thank you. I shall be waiting for you.
15 minutes later, the car drove up to the block of flats. The driver salesman got out and went inside. Entering the lift, he went up to the third floor and knocked on the door of number 17. Needless to say, the occupier had never heard of either Maurice Bluet or Major General Lewis. But while the questions and explanations sorted themselves out, Walter Pievsky was already driving the luxury car toward the garage where practiced hands were waiting to completely change its identity. First, what the Pike did not know was that he had provided the police with a vital clue that was to lead him first to prison and then, by reason of the tartan scarf, to the gallows. But the scarf was yet to earn its place, of course, among these strange exhibits here in the Black Museum.
In just a moment, we will continue with The Black Museum, starring Orson Welles. And now we continue with The Black Museum, starring Orson Welles.
We return to Walter Pievsky, known as the Pike, elated at the success of his confidence car trick. He made a handsome profit on the rolls, and despite the fact that the police subsequently traced it, they never traced the theft back to the Pike, not until he tried the same operation again. Certainly he changed the district, but, as is so often the case with a regular criminal, he develops regular habits, and the routine served up to the local garage was almost exactly as before.
Yes, I'm staying with Sir Leslie, and he tells me you've got that straight 8 in the showroom. I'm most anxious to take a car back to the continent with me, but time is pressing, and
I'll
you
be
see...
delighted to bring the car round to you right away, sir, if that's convenient.
If you're sure that it's not too much trouble.
No trouble at all, sir. I'll be with you in 10 minutes.
Oh, that is most kind. Thank you. Excellent.
But you wouldn't think it was so excellent from your point of view if you knew what was happening at the garage, Pike.
Hello? Give me the police. Is that Scotland Yard?
Yes, information room.
Listen, my name is Slater. I run a garage, Carlsbrook Street, North 1.
Yes, sir.
A few weeks ago, the local police warned me about a car thief who worked a telephone trick, asking salesmen to take cars round to fake addresses for inspection.
He just rung you, has he, Mr. Slater?
Yeah. It might be in, or it might be genuine. But he asked me to take a car round to 21 Golston Court, Catamar Street.
On the advice of Scotland Yard, Mr. Slater took the car to Golston Court. To make it easier for the thief, he left the doors unlocked and went into the building. When he was safely inside, the Pike left his telephone box and walked smartly over to the waiting motor. There were just two things he didn't know. First, an ignition wire had been snipped, and second, he was being watched. She'll never start until that broken wire is mended, Pike. You're wasting your time. You're going to waste a lot more time, too. 7 years, to be exact.
Hello, sir. You're having a bit of starting trouble.
Oh, hello, officer. Yes, I don't know what's happened here.
I'm used to this sort of thing. So is the other constable here.
Oh, there's two of you.
There's a lot more at the end of the road. Suppose you hop out of that and let us see whether we can't get the car going for you.
No, I can manage.
All the same, you might let us have a go for you.
Okay.
That's the idea. Are you the owner of this car? Hold him, George. He's got a knuckle there, sir.
Let me go, you swamp!
No, you don't.
Oh, George! Put the brakes on him, quick! You all right, 71?
Oh.
How is he? Looks as if his jaw's broken, Inspector. Right, take this man to the station. What's his name?
I'm choking.
Very well. I'm charging you with grievous bodily harm and resisting arrest for the attempted theft of this vehicle. There may be further charges.
There were further charges, including the theft of the big rolls. Walter Pievsky, alias the Pike, had played the same game once too often, and a search of his flat in the East End produced more evidence of his varied career in crime. The police had been waiting for him to make his first mistake. This time he'd done it. At the Old Bailey, he pleaded guilty to over 100 crimes, and there were hundreds more with which he was never charged. He was sent to prison for 7 years, and immediately on his reception, his personal belongings were entered in the property book, and he was wearing the tartan scarf, which later was to hang him.
Juliet, grey, 7.5. Collar, 16, brown. One scarf, red background, green and blue stripes, white and yellow overcheck.
The can steward.
How do you know that, Pievsky?
The fellow I bought it from in Petticoat Lane told me.
I'll take his word for it. Oh, there's a small tear 5 inches from one corner. Been roughly patched. Better put that down.
Don't worry, boys. I won't accuse you of doing it.
Don't you worry. I'll be retired by then. 1 pair leather gloves, size 8. 1 pair black socks, 10. Brown shoes, neat.
The tartan scarf had been duly entered, and little did the retiring prison officer dream that his hastily scribbled details were to be subsequently brought up as key evidence in a murder trial. But Pievsky signed the list of his personal property, and for the next 7 years he was a guest of His Majesty's government in the most famous prison in England, Dartmoor. But in 1946, justice had run its course. The Pike was given back his personal property, which included the tartan scarf, of course, all duly signed for, and so he was released upon a battle-scarred London. Time passed, and he added to his lawful wages by meager pickings from the black market, and more time passed, until one day the inspiration came to him like a bolt from the blue. He mulled it over in his mind. He carried out the research, and not until the plans were cut and dried did he put Ed Javison in the picture.
This is it. This is going to be the clean-up, Eddie.
Yeah, what is it, Pike?
We're going to stick up a post office van, see?
A post office van?
I've been standing in for a chap selling papers right outside a big post office in the West End. Every night I watch the mailbags coming out and going into the vans around 6 o'clock. And the other night I hired a car and followed one. It cut through Preston Mews to Park Lane.
Did you say you hired a car?
Yes, what about it?
Never mind. Go on.
Well, I had it out 3 nights and I found the vans don't change their route. It's the Mews every time. Cuts off a bit of traffic, you see.
Yeah, go on.
Now, the mews are very dark. Badly bombed and no residents that I could see.
Yeah, I'll get it, yeah.
All we have to do is get a fast car and wait there until the last van comes through.
Yeah, how many are there?
Only 2. We draw our car out on the path of the second one, as if we were going to back into the garage, see?
Yeah.
The van stops.
Yeah.
We fix the 2 men in it, fill up our car from the back, and bring the stuff back here to sort.
To salt? Oh, I like that. Yes. Here we can bring it through the back way. When do we do it?
Well, I think our most profitable haul will be tonight, Friday.
Well, what about a car?
Oh, you can leave that to me.
And Walter Piewski ran true to form. He wanted a fast car in a hurry. He applied the methods he knew. He worked the telephone trick on a young and trusting motor salesman who duly delivered a shining, high-powered limousine to a block of flats. As he disappeared into the entrance full of expectation, the Pike drove off rapidly to Braston Mews, where his partner was waiting for him. The timing was perfect. As the car stopped, the first post office van was already approaching.
Here, keep your head down, Ed. Here he comes. The second one won't be more than a minute or so behind. We must turn the car broadside onto it.
How did you get this bad?
I'll tell you later. It's hand-picked, see? Plenty of room in the back for the luggage. There we are. Nothing can get by now.
What happens if something tries to get through before the van arrives?
We make way for it and come back another night if necessary. Here, what's this?
It's the van. We're going to be all right.
Nobody about. Couldn't be better. Now, get out.
Yeah?
Keep your chin tucked into your scarf like me.
Righto.
Pretend to be pushing the car.
Right.
What's up? Come down.
Oh,
afraid so. Yeah. Could you give us a push?
Sorry, mustn't leave the van.
Oh. Well, look, in that case, I wonder if you'd like to earn yourselves 10 bob, eh? If you could ring this number for us when you get to your own destination, it's my garage.
I'd log on and send a breakdown for you, eh?
That's the idea.
Oh, don't mind doing that for you. I'll do it for nothing.
Oh, thanks, Sam. You're very kind. If you got a pencil, I'll jot down my name. It's rather a difficult one.
Here, here's a pencil.
Help! Dirty thieves! Oh, that's got the both of us.
Good. We'll start getting the bags out, quick.
No, you don't.
I'll set you up, you snivelling idiot.
I'm choking. This scarf's choking me.
Here, quick with the bags, Ed.
Oh, no, here we go.
I'm going. You'll swing for it.
Start getting the stuff in the car.
Okay.
Oh, I reckon that's about as much as we can take.
Here. Oh, what's happened to the driver?
Oh, don't worry about him. Get moving.
Here, look at his tongue. His eyes. You've killed him.
Stop talking. Get on with the job.
There's a car coming. They've got us in their headlights. It's the cops.
Well, let's get out of here. Outside on the corner.
Keep going, they're after us. Oh, watch the traffic lights. They're red. Something's coming.
Oh, we got through.
Oh, I thought we'd had it. Oh,
the police car's held up by the other car. We'll get away. I'm going to make it.
Put them in! Slow up, we can't get round!
Ed Javison died in that crash, so mutilated that his body could not be identified. By some miracle, the Pike escaped and staggered away into the shadows. But his tartan scarf was still round the throat of his victim, lying in the mews. Now let Superintendent Brandreth take up the story of the hunt.
Well, the hunt was soon over. In fact, as soon as the car was reported stolen, I had a call from one of my inspectors.
I thought you'd like to see this.
What is it, Harrison? Oh, stolen car. Well?
Well, I checked with criminal records, sir. There was something familiar about the method. Calling up a garage and getting the salesman to deliver the car to a block of flats. Now, here's the list of men who practiced that. Now, these two are inside at present.
Yes.
This one's going straight. Well, he's out of London anyway.
That leaves this one, Walter Piewski.
Yes, sir. The Pike.
Know where to find him?
And he's sharing a place with a man named Javison in the East End.
Right. Bring him in.
Yes, sir.
But before the Pike was picked up for questioning about the car, his scarf was
immediately recognized as the one which we believe Piewski had stolen. In theory, the evidence against him was already piling up. If he was the car thief, he was probably the murderer as well. But I needed that extra piece of evidence. I called for everything that was known about him, including the list of his personal property which he had signed in prison. It was a shot in the dark, but it yielded results.
There's no doubt about the scarf being his property, Superintendent, even to the patch on it.
Within 24 hours, the pike was caught. Still dazed by the car crash, he offered no resistance. In due course, he was convicted of the murder of William Price, the driver of the post office van. And at 8 o'clock, one cold morning in February, he was hanged. All because of this tartan scarf, which has earned its place today in the Black Museum.
Orson Welles will be back with you in just a moment. Now here in person is Orson Welles.
Under English law, there are no degrees of murder, and the death sentence has to be pronounced on a man or woman convicted of the crime. Recommendations to mercy by the jury are always carefully considered. But in the case of Walter H. Pievsky, no such recommendation was made. The evidence against him was unshakable, and on the eve of his execution he reproached himself bitterly, not for the death of his victim, or even his unfortunate partner, but for two other reasons. The supreme crime of murder had brought him no profit, and as his last hour approached, he became increasingly angry at his own forgetfulness. Oh yes, they usually overlook something. And that's why the faded piece of tartan has earned its place here among the other exhibits in the Black Museum. Now, until we meet again in the same place for another story about the Black Museum, I remain, as always, obediently yours.
The Black Museum, starring Orson Welles, is presented by arrangement with Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer Radio Attraction, with original music composed and conducted by Sidney Torch, produced by Harry Allen Towers.
The mysterious traveler.
This is the mysterious traveler.
inviting you to join me on another journey into the realm of the strange and terrifying. I hope you will enjoy this little trip, that it will thrill you a little and chill you a little. So settle back, get a good grip on your nerves. But where are we going? We're going to delve into the life of a frightened man in a tale titled The Queen of the Cats. Some years ago, when I was practicing medicine, I was called upon by a young girl of 22 or so. As she was shown into my office, I could see that she was having a difficult time suppressing her agitation. Her lips trembled as she spoke.
Dr. Smith, my name is Jane Elliott. I have an appointment with you.
Yes, Miss Elliott. Won't you be seated, please?
Thank you.
Now, what seems to be the trouble, Miss Elliott? You're trembling, and you don't look well at all.
I'm not ill, Doctor. It's Chris. Chris Arnold, my fiancé. Oh, Doctor, you've got to help him. If you don't, something terrible will happen.
Well, I'll do everything I can, Miss Elliott. Now, tell me what's wrong.
I don't know what's wrong. All I know is that Chris is frightened. He's in deadly fear of something.
Has he told you what it is that frightens him?
No, I've questioned him countless times, but he refuses to tell me.
I see. Where is your fiancé now?
At his home, Brookfield Manor. Oh, Doctor, I know it's late, but won't you come with me and see Chris? He needs help desperately.
There, Miss Elliott. You mustn't cry. Of course I'll come with you. And I'll do what I can.
Who is it?
Chris, it's Jane.
Just a minute. Jane, I've asked you before not to... Who's he?
Darling, this is Dr. Smith. Doctor, this is my fiancé, Chris Arnold.
How do you do, Mr. Arnold?
Why the devil did you bring him? I don't need a doctor.
Please, darling, I just couldn't stand
Forgive
to
me,
see
Mr.
it.
Arnold, but it's obvious to the most untrained eye you do need a doctor.
Please, Chris, tell the doctor what you're afraid of.
I'm not afraid of anything.
Oh, darling, please tell him, please. You can't go on this way.
Yes, you're right. I can't go on this way. If I don't tell someone, I'll go mad.
Believe me, Mr. Arnold, you'll feel much better once you've talked your fears out. Now, suppose you start from the beginning and tell me everything.
All right, Doctor. Come on in. I suppose it all began 2 years ago at a party Jane and I were invited to.
Oh, Chris, isn't this a wonderful party?
The only thing wonderful about it is you.
Oh, Chris, people are watching.
Fine thing when a man can't kiss his best girl in public. What's this generation coming to, anyway?
At Miss Tyndall's school, we were taught a young lady never kisses a man in public.
Miss Tyndall is setting romance back 50 years. Who are you looking for, anyway?
Rana Farouk, my roommate at Miss Tyndall's.
Oh, yes, she's the Egyptian girl you were telling me about.
Yes, I want you to meet her. Only you better not fall in love with her as every other man does.
Sounds as though she's a second Cleopatra.
Men just can't seem to be able to resist her.
Well, I'm curious to see this siren of the Nile.
Oh, there she is, Chris. Come on.
So that's Rana. No wonder men can't resist her.
Hello, Jane. I've missed you.
Rana, this is Chris Arnold. Chris, this is Rana Farouk.
Hello, Chris.
Hello, Rana.
Oh, look, there's Miss Tyndall waving to me. Excuse me, won't you?
Of course, Jane.
I'll be back in a minute.
You know, Chris, at Miss Tyndall's, the first thing I'd see in the morning when I got up, and the last thing before I went to bed was your picture. And I always knew that someday we should meet. And now we have. Why are you staring at me like that? Aren't you going to say anything?
I prefer just to look. Even now, Doctor, 2 years after our first meeting, I find it difficult to describe how beautiful Rhonda was. She had lustrous black hair that came down to her shoulders and sparkling green eyes that bewitched you. No words can do her beauty justice. I was captivated the moment I saw her.
I see. What happened after that first meeting?
Rhonda seemed also attracted to me. After that night, we saw each other constantly.
You did?
Nothing seemed to matter to me when I was with her. It made me indescribably happy to learn she felt the same way. A month after we'd met, we were married.
Please go on, Mr. Arnold.
After we were married, we took an apartment in town. In the months that followed, I began to see Rhonda not as the image I'd been infatuated with, but as she really was, vain, selfish, and possessive. It was a possessiveness verging on madness. She couldn't bear to have me out of her sight, and when I was, upon my return, there would be questions, countless questions. I began to dread seeing her. And then there were the cats.
The cats?
Yes. She had an insane passion for them.
Yes, when Rhonda and I were at school together, Doctor, she always had a few cats around. She said that she couldn't live without
The apartment was always full of cats. She'd sit for hours stroking them, whispering to them until I felt I'd go mad. Life became a nightmare for me, a nightmare full of cats. And Rhonda asking questions, endless questions. One day, I realized I couldn't go on living with her any longer, that our marriage had been a mistake. I decided to tell her about it that very evening. May I come in, Rhonda?
Of course, dear.
Rhonda, there's something important I want to talk to you about.
Oh, please, Chris. There's so little time just now. We can talk later after the party.
But, Rhonda, this is important. I think that...
Darling, whatever you have to say can wait. Now, please hurry.
But... Well, all right. We'll discuss what I have to say later.
Chris, when I called you at the office this afternoon, why didn't you tell me that you had had lunch with Mary Walker?
What? How did you know I had lunch with her?
Oh, a friend told me.
A friend? Who was it?
What is it, my beauty? What are you trying to say?
Rhonda, put that cat down and answer me. Who was the friend that told you I had lunch with Mary Walker?
You have never met her, darling.
How is it that you always know what I've been doing, whom I've been seeing? It's as though you have people spying on me.
Chris, what a thing to say. Now, please hurry or we'll be late.
There's something strange about the way you always know what I've been doing. Sometimes I suspect...
Chris, look out. You stepped on Sabina's tail.
I'm sorry, but I didn't see it.
I asked you before to be more careful. Poor Sabina. Are you all right now, my beauty?
If there weren't so many cats underfoot, I wouldn't have stepped on her. Why must you have 5 cats around?
Because I love cats. They're beautiful, sacred. Thousands of years ago, my ancestors worshipped cats. And the great cat goddess Sekhmet. On the river Nile, close by the ancient city of Hamadi, where I was born, are the graves of 100,000 sacred cats. They have been mummified and buried with reverence.
Rana, I can't go on like this anymore.
Why, darling, what do you mean?
I feel our marriage was a mistake. I want a divorce.
Chris, you can't be serious.
But I am.
I love you, Chris, and I won't give you up. You're mine, darling. You always will be. Nothing shall ever separate us.
Would you care for a cocktail, sir?
No, thank you.
Well, even if you won't have one, Mr. Arnold, I will.
Jane, it's good to see you again. Just let me look at you.
Chris, you're not looking well at all. Are you all right?
I am now. Jane, can't we go someplace and talk? What about the terrace?
All right, Chris.
Here, this door opens onto it. This is much better. It's been quite some time since we've seen each other, hasn't it?
Yes, the last time we saw each other was the night that...
The night that I met Rana.
Yes. How is Rana, Chris?
Oh, she's fine. Jane, I've made such a mess out of everything. I was a fool to have married her.
Please, Chris, you mustn't talk like that.
But I was a fool, Jane. Mistaking infatuation for love. Can you ever forgive me for the way I behaved toward you?
There's nothing to forgive, Chris.
Well, Jane, this is a surprise.
Rana.
Hello, Rana.
Really, Jane, the way you have avoided calling on us, I half suspect you are still in love with Chris.
Rana, you had no right to talk to her like that.
Please, Chris, I'm afraid I'll have to be leaving. It's getting quite late. Good night.
Good night, Jane.
I hope I didn't interrupt anything by coming out here so unexpectedly, Chris.
Yes, Rana, you did. I was about to tell Jane that I love her, and that I always will.
I suppose that's why you asked me for a divorce. You've been secretly seeing her.
Secretly seen her? Is it possible for me to see anyone or do anything secretly without your knowing about it?
No, you are quite right. It is not possible. I know everything you do. So I would forget Jane if I were you.
Rana, how can you possibly want me? Knowing how I feel about Jane. You've got to give me a divorce.
I'll never give you a divorce. Never. You hear? You're mine. You always will be.
Yes? Well, what's to prevent me from leaving you?
Wherever you go, Chris, I'll follow. If I can't have you, no one else ever will. Remember, Chris, you're mine. You always will be.
I can still see her, Doctor, as she stood there screaming at me. Remember, Chris, you're mine, and you always will be. It was a shock to suddenly realize that she looked like a cat, an angry cat. Her green eyes, cold and murderous, her long nails digging into my arms, her body tense. For a moment, I thought she was going to scratch my eyes out.
Yes, Rana did look like that when she was in a rage.
What happened after that night, Mr. Ronald?
I stopped speaking to Rana. We lived in the same apartment, but that was all. Weeks passed, and Rana waited for me to come around as she felt certain I would. She had all the patience of a cat for playing with a mouse. But when a month had passed and I still refused to talk to her, she made an attempt to win me back. It happened one night as we were driving to this house. Why are you slowing down, Rana?
I want to talk to you, Chris, and I can't talk to you while I'm driving.
There's no point in your stopping. We have nothing to say to each other.
Oh, but we do, darling. Chris, we could be so happy together if you wanted to. You know how much I love you.
It's a possessive love that smothers me to death.
Chris, you know that isn't true. I could make you happy if you'd only let me. Oh, please don't turn away from me, Chris. I'll do anything to make you happy. Anything.
Anything? And you can give me a divorce.
So you're still thinking of her, hoping I'll give you a divorce so you can marry her. Well, I won't. You hear? I won't.
I think we'd better be moving along.
Chris, you haven't any right to treat me like this. I'm your wife.
Only in the eyes of the law, not in my eyes.
I hate you. I hate you!
You can't! You almost took out my eyes with those claws of yours.
I will scratch your eyes out before I let any other woman have you. You're mine. You always will be.
Perhaps this will bring you to your senses. Slide over. I'll drive.
Very well, Chris. You think you've beaten me, Chris. But you haven't. In the end, you'll come crawling to me. It may take a year, 2 years, 5 years. But I can wait.
I'll never come crawling to you. Never.
But you will, Chris. Jane knows I'll never give you your freedom. In time, she'll marry. And when she does, all the heart will be gone out of you. Then you'll be mine.
That'll never happen.
But it will, Chris. And deep down in your heart, you know I'm right. Jane will never be yours. I'll see to that.
You have everything planned perfectly, Rana, don't you? But I have one way of escape from you that you've never thought of.
Really? And what way is that?
I can escape through death.
Death?
Yes, Rana. If I should fail to take the curve 100 yards ahead, we'd plunge off the side of this mountain.
Chris, you would.
Why not, Rana? You've shown me there's nothing to live for. This at least is a clean way out.
No! Chris, don't! When
I drove the car over the side of the mountain, Doctor. I thought Rana and I were going to our deaths. But fate decreed otherwise. When I recovered consciousness 48 hours later in a hospital, I learned it was only Rana who died.
Yes, I recall reading about it in the papers. It was a miracle that you survived.
Yes. For weeks, they despaired of saving me. But at the end of 8 months, I walked out of that hospital. The police believed my story that it was an accident. And I was free to begin a new life. It was just a week after I was discharged from the hospital that I ran into Jane.
Chris! Oh, Chris, it's you.
Jamie, you always seem to pop up just when I need you most.
Chris, you look so much older. Are you all right?
Well, my heart isn't any too good, but otherwise I'm fine. And seeing you again is just what I need to put me on my feet.
These past months must have been so difficult for you.
I don't want to look back to the past, Jane, but only to the future. The future I once hoped we'd share, and still do. 2 months ago, Doctor, Jane and I became engaged. It was just about that time that I first began to notice that everywhere I went, there always seemed to be a cat following me.
Are you sure you weren't imagining it, Mr. Arnold?
At first, I thought it was my imagination. But a week after Jane and I became engaged, I was certain I was being followed.
Yeah. Tell me, Mr. Arnold, was it always the same cat that followed you?
No. One day it'd be one cat, and another day a different one. Oh, I know you must think I'm mad, Doctor. And at the time I felt I was going mad. That is, until that night.
What night, Mr. Arnold?
The night I saw her. It happened in this very room 6 weeks ago. I had great difficulty in falling asleep that night. Suddenly, silence was broken by the faint crying of a cat. The crying grew louder and louder. I lay in the darkness listening, realizing that the cat crying was real, living, in my room. I could feel my heart pounding as I sat up in bed and looked about my darkened room. And then suddenly I saw her. 2 burning green eyes in the darkness. There was no mistaking those eyes. They were Rana's. I stared into those eyes for what seemed like hours. Then, as though listening to a stranger's voice, I heard myself speak. Rana. It is you, Rana, isn't it? Yes. I'd recognize those green eyes anywhere. So you've come back, and in a form I've always thought of you, as a cat. I know why you've come back. It's because of Jane. You always said that if you couldn't have me, no one else could. That I was yours, and always would be. Well, you're wrong, you hear? Jane and I are going to be married. You came between us once, but you aren't going to this time. I will marry you, and there's nothing you can do to stop me. You fiend! Trying to scratch my eyes out. Well, we'll see about that. There. Perhaps that'll show you that nothing you can do will stop me from marrying her. I know that all those cats that were following me, spying on me, were doing so under your orders. You're the queen of the cats. Yes, I should have known. No wonder you always knew where I'd been, who I'd seen. You had your cats spying on me even then. Well, even if you are the queen of the cats, you can't prevent me from marrying Jane. That's a bullet between those green eyes of yours is what's needed. I emptied the gun at her, Doctor, and then turned on the lights. There was no sign of her. She'd vanished. All that I found were those 6 bullet holes in the wall.
Tell me, Mr. Arnold, isn't it possible that you only dreamed all that? That actually you fired the gun in your sleep and the shots themselves wakened you?
I tried to tell myself that, Doctor. But during the nights that followed, I knew it was not a dream. For night after night, she appeared in my room. I'd lie awake, waiting to hear her footsteps, her voice. And when she would appear, I'd plead with her to leave me alone. But she'd only stare at me with those burning green eyes, waiting. I knew she'd never leave me alone as long as I intended to marry Jane. Finally, I could stand it no longer, and I went to see Jane.
Chris, this is a surprise. Come in, darling.
Thank you, Jane.
Oh, well, where have you been keeping yourself this past week? I was beginning to believe I was being jilted.
Jane, there's something I want to ask you.
Yes, Chris, of course. What is it?
I know we set our wedding for next week. But couldn't we put it off for a while? Just a little while.
Darling, what is it? There's something wrong. I know there is. Please tell me.
I wish I could, but I can't. Please, Jane, just have faith in me. You know I wouldn't postpone our marriage if I could possibly help it.
All right, Chris, I do have faith in you. We'll consider our marriage postponed for the time being.
The night I put off my marriage to Jane, Doctor, was the first night that Rana didn't appear. And the first night in a week that I'd been able to sleep.
And you think, Mr. Ronald, that she didn't appear again because you had postponed your marriage to Jane?
I know it. Weeks went by, weeks in which I was able to sleep soundly without being awakened by her. I came to think that perhaps it had all been part of a horrible nightmare, and that I was over it at last. A week ago, I asked Jane to set the date for our wedding. She did so. And that same day, we took out a marriage license. But that night, she appeared again. Her eyes shining in the dark, cold and murderous. She knew about the license. That's why she returned.
And you've seen her again?
Yes, every night. She just keeps staring at me with those green eyes, waiting. She's determined not to give me any rest. I tell myself that I mustn't be afraid, but I keep hearing her voice over and over. If I can't have you, no one else will. You're mine, and you always will be.
Oh, Chris, darling, I wish I had known all this before.
You feel, Mr. Arnold, that somehow she'll prevent you from marrying Jane, huh?
I know I sound mad, but I do. I have a feeling something horrible will happen if I attempt to marry her.
You still have the marriage license?
Yes. Why do you ask?
Mr. Arnold, you've reached a crisis in your life. You're faced with fears that are threatening to overwhelm your sanity. The only way for you to challenge your fears is to go through with your marriage to Jane now, tonight.
Tonight?
Yes. It's quite late, but I'm sure a friend of mine who's a judge will marry you.
You get married tonight?
If you hesitate, you're lost. Your only chance is to face your fears.
All right, Doctor. All right. Jane, will you marry me tonight?
Oh, yes, Chris. Yes.
I'm sorry to get you up in the middle of the night, Judge, but for reasons I can't explain, it's important that these two be married tonight.
That's quite all right, Doc. Always glad to oblige a friend. Have you got the license and the ring, young man?
Yes, sir. Here's the license and the ring.
Now, young man, if you'll take a right hand. That's it. Now, shall I give you the long ceremony or the short one?
The short one, please.
Just as you're saying, Ready? This is the shortest one I've got. Do you, Jane Elliott, take this man to be your lawful wedded husband, to love, honor, and obey as long as ye both shall live?
I do.
Do you, Christopher Arnold, take this woman to be your lawful wedded wife, to love, honor, and cherish as long as you both shall live?
It's she. It's Rana.
Chris, please, it's only a black cat. You mustn't pay any attention to it.
Of course not. Now,
It's Rana, I tell you. Look at her eyes. I told you she was trying to prevent my marrying Jane. Well, I'll get rid of her once and for all.
Chris, what are you doing with that gun? Put it down.
She got away. Well, wherever she's gone, I'll find her and kill her.
Chris, come back. Oh, Doctor, where can he be?
Now, Jane, you can't be far off. We'll find her.
Oh.
Listen.
Doctor, that must be Chris firing that gun.
Come on. Those shots came from close by.
Hurry! Hurry!
We better take it easy now, Doc. It's pretty dark out here.
Wait a moment now. Light my cigarette lighter.
Doc! Look, a dead cat!
Yes. Was shot through the head.
Say, look. There's another one that's been shot to death.
Neither one of them is the black cat.
Say, Doc, isn't that a body over there?
Chris!
No, Jane, you stay with the judge while I look.
All right, Doctor.
There, miss. You mustn't cry.
This never would have happened if I hadn't agreed to bury him. He was afraid. So afraid.
Doc! Is it Arnold?
Yes. Yes, it's he.
He's dead, isn't he? I can see it in your face.
Yes, Jane. He's dead.
But, Doc, what happened to him?
He's been clawed to bits, as if by hundreds of cats. And most horrible of all, his eyes have been scratched out. This is the mysterious traveler again. Have you enjoyed our little trip into the life, or should I say, death of a frightened man? Strangely enough, 2 days later, at Chris Arnold's funeral, just as the coffin was being lowered into the grave, the mourners suddenly noticed a black cat with green eyes sitting on the edge of the grave, quietly licking its paws. By the way, I trust you haven't a cat in your home, particularly a black one. I once knew a woman, she's dead now, who had a... Oh, you're getting off at the next stop, huh? I'm sorry. Perhaps you'll join me again soon. I take this same train every week at the same time.
You have just heard Chapter 31 of The Mysterious Traveler, a series of dramas of the strange and terrifying. In today's story, Queen of the Cats, Stutz Cotsworth played Chris, Sarah Burton played Rana, and Sandra Gould played Jane. The Mysterious Traveler is written by Bob Arthur and David Cogan, and original music was played by Doc Whipple. The entire production was under the direction of Jock McGregor. Listen next week to a tale titled
Broadway, Here I Come.
Another Tale of the Mysterious Traveler. The Mysterious Traveler is presented by WOR Mutual from the WOR Studios in New York. It is presented over most of these stations every Sunday afternoon at 3:30.
This is Mutual.
The Strange Dr. Weird.
Good evening. Come in, won't you? Why, what's the matter? You seem a bit nervous. Perhaps the cemetery outside this house has upset you. But there are things far worse than cemeteries. For instance, men with murder in their hearts. As in my story tonight, a story I call The Devil's Caverns.
story, The Devil's Caverns, begins in the desolate and remote mountain country of New Mexico. It is early morning. In a large hunting lodge, John Drake, the noted naturalist and explorer, is speaking to his two nephews, Victor and Paul.
You two have just wasted your time coming to New Mexico to see me. I told you both a dozen times I won't increase your allowances, and that's final.
But, Uncle John, you can hardly expect Victor and myself to live on $5,000.
Now, be quiet, Paul. Uncle John has always been most generous to us. If he feels that he can't give us any more, we should be satisfied.
Thank you, Victor. Dear me, it's 9 o'clock, and I'm not even at work. I must leave now.
Oh, you're going to those caverns you discovered in the mountains?
Yes. Would you two care to come with me?
No, thank you, Uncle John. Exploring caverns is hardly in our line.
But you can't go back to New York without seeing the Devil's Caverns.
The Devil's Caverns?
Yes, I call them that because they're so huge and dark. I imagine to anyone but a scientist like myself, the caverns would be rather terrifying.
I see. Well, thanks anyway, Uncle John. Perhaps some other time.
Very well. I'll see you both this evening when I return.
The old fool. Worth millions, and he wastes his time exploring caverns.
Perhaps we made a mistake in not going to the caverns with him.
What do you mean?
Last night, Uncle John spoke about finding holes in the caverns. Holes hundreds of feet deep.
What are you getting at?
Suppose Uncle John were to accidentally fall into one of those holes. You and I would inherit his millions.
Say, I hadn't thought of that.
Well, I have. Yes, Paul, tomorrow you and I will accompany Uncle John into the caverns. Who knows? Perhaps he will meet with an accident.
It's just a little further to the entrance to the caverns.
But, Uncle John, why did you make us wear leather gloves and high shoes?
Well, they're for protection against the rats in Devil's Caverns.
You mean the rats in there are dangerous?
Oh, not really. It's just that now and then one of them will take a nip at you.
Oh.
And then there's the bats. A most remarkable species. Now, here we are.
Well, you just lead the way.
It was just by sheer luck that I stumbled on the entrance.
Oh, it certainly is dark in here.
Now, just a second. I'll turn on my flashlight. There.
Wow. I can understand now why you call these the Devil's Caverns. There's something terrifying about this place.
Yes, and there are others even more terrifying. Come along, I'll show them to you.
Just a minute, Uncle John.
What for, Paul? Paul, why in the world are you lighting a candle?
I'm going to leave this candle here by the entrance. I think you will stop every 50 yards and leave a burning candle so we won't get lost.
Yes. The candles will serve as beacons to guide us back to the entrance here.
But that isn't necessary. Why, I know every inch of all the caverns by now.
Well, nevertheless, Uncle John, we'd feel safer this way.
Very well. If it'll make you feel better, now come along. There's so much I want to show you. If you'll come over here, boys, I'll show you one of those holes I was telling you about.
We'll be there just as soon as we light another candle, Uncle John. How many candles does this make, Paul?
This is the 10th candle. I figure we've come more than a quarter of a mile.
Everything's working out perfectly. Now, look back. You can see 4 of the candles burning, and the other 6 are around that turn.
Yeah. Well, come along now. We mustn't keep Uncle John waiting.
There you are. Now I'm going to show you another of the wonder of these caverns. This hole I'm shining my flashlight on.
Oh, something just brushed against my foot.
That was just one of the cavern rats. I discovered we're here. Listen.
Sounds like there are thousands of them.
Yes, there are. Nasty little fellows, too. And our leather gloves and high shoes will protect us if they grow too bold.
I hope so.
Now, yesterday I measured the depth of this hole, and much to my amazement, I discovered that it's 920 feet deep.
920 feet? If anyone fell in, it'd be quite a fall.
Shine your flashlight down the hole, Uncle John, so we can see what it looks like.
Very well. Of course, you won't be able to see the bottom, but at least you'll get an idea of how... Why are you taking my arms, boys?
We just want to make sure you don't fall in.
Yes, Uncle John. After all, you're awfully close to the edge.
Nonsense, boys. I won't fall in. Now let go of my arm so I can... Stop pushing me. What's come over you? Don't! I'll fall if you...
Poor Uncle John. But then accidents will happen.
Doctor, after listening to the first part of your story, don't you think some of our listeners may be a little shaky?
Well, I can't understand why. But if they are, I suppose we ought to suggest something to bolster their confidence.
Doctor, that's a good idea. And then there's nothing that gives a fellow more confidence in himself than correct attire. For that reason, may I suggest that your wardrobe include at least one of the many smart, correctly styled Adam hats. Made of lustrous all-fur felt in a wide variety of soft, harmonizing shades, Adam hats are the epitome of fine quality and good taste. You'll appreciate, too, the distinctive hat bands and other important details of your Adam hat. Top off that well-dressed look, gentlemen, with an Adam hat. Now, back to Mystery and Dr. Weir.
And now I'll continue my story, The Devil's Caverns. After John Drake's death scream had faded away, only the shrill squeaking of the rats and the heavy breathing of the two men remained. For a moment the two stood in darkness. Then Victor spoke.
All right, Paul. Turn on Uncle John's flashlight and let's get out of here.
I haven't got his flashlight. He fell in before I could take it away from him.
What? You stupid fool. I might have known you'd bungle it. Now, what have we got? Wait a minute. I have my cigarette lighter, if it only works. There. It doesn't give much light, but it'll do.
Oh, come on. Let's get out of here. This place gives me the creeps.
Yes. Now, there's the first candle a few yards away. Come along.
Victor, look. That first candle just went out.
Yes. That draft probably blew it out.
The candle was right over here on this rock. Well, Victor, it's gone.
Gone? Nonsense. You probably left it on another rock. Well, let's not waste time. There's the second candle 50 yards ahead.
Oh, all right, but I tell you, that was a rock I left it on. And now it's gone.
Oh, look. The second candle. It seems to be moving. It's falling over.
It's gone out. But that's as though someone blew it out.
Don't be a fool.
Look! The third candle's beginning to flicker.
It can't go out. It mustn't go out. Hurry!
Oh, Victor, it has gone out. Now there aren't any candles to guide us out of here.
Get hold of yourself. I've got my eye fixed on the spot where the third candle went out. Once there, we merely have to turn the bend to see the other candles.
Yes, but suppose there are two.
They won't be.
Uncle John. He's going ahead of us, pouring out the candle, so we can't escape.
How can it be Uncle John? He's dead.
It's his ghost that's doing it. He's getting revenge on us for what we did.
Be quiet, do you hear? Listen. The rats. That's it. They're the ones who are knocking the candles over. They're carrying them off. They're hungry. They're attracted by the waxing candles.
Why are you stopping?
Can't you see? The path divides into three here. Do you remember which is the way out?
I don't remember these three paths at all.
We must have come by the middle path. Yes, I'm sure that's the one. Come on. We're bound to find the entrance. After all the hours we've searched, we're bound to.
Why do you keep on saying that over and over? We're lost, and you know we are. We're never going to get out of here, never. Uncle John has seen to that.
Stop talking about Uncle John. He's dead.
Dead? No, he's all around us. I can feel him. He blew out all the candles. And now he's waiting for us to die. Even the rats know that we're going to die. Listen.
My cigarette lighter. It's gone out.
Uncle John. He blew it out.
It won't work. The fuel's all gone. Paul, where are you?
I'm over here.
You have some matches, haven't you?
Yes.
Those matches are a matter of life and death. We don't dare walk in the darkness, not with all those holes around. Paul, keep talking so I can find you.
How can you find me when I'm lost? You'll never find me.
Oh, Paul, what is it?
Uncle John. He just brushed past me. He's come to take me.
Don't be a fool. It was a bat that brushed past you.
No, Uncle John. He's come to take me. No, stay away from me. Stay away.
Paul, come back. Come back, you hear? It's dangerous to run like that. Paul. He's fallen into a hole. He's gone. Now I'm all alone without any light at all. So, Uncle John, you think you've gotten the better of me. Well, you haven't, you hear? I've got to get hold of myself. I must. If I go to pieces, I'll never get out of here. I've got to take this thing out. There must be some way that I can... Oh, left leg. Oh, one of those rats bit me. But they're swarming all around me. Ow! I've got to fight them off if I don't. They'll... Ow! Oh! No! Get away! Get away!
Too bad about poor Victor, wasn't it? Such a horrible way to die. 2 weeks later, when a searching party entered the cavern, they found a clean white skeleton lying a few hundred yards from the entrance. Unfortunately, they were never able to find a trace of John Drake and Paul. It was as if they had vanished from the face of the earth. Now, I once knew a dead man who would... Oh, you have to go now? Perhaps you'll drop in on me again soon. Just look for the house on the other side of the cemetery. The house of Dr. Weird.